recording? You're good?
Yeah. Roy.
Snatch. Snatch the rain.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so excited that you're here. Thank you for coming, because if you didn't come, we'd have nothing to do today.
We could go shopping in Sharon.
Yes, that's next. So I traveled all the way in from Pardes Chana. I lived there. I made Aliyah 2 years ago. My name is Aleeza Shalom. I work as a professional relationship coach, matchmaker, author, writer, speaker, entertainer. You can hire me for anything. We do weddings now too. And I absolutely love what I do. I've been doing it for probably 15 years and plus, and it just makes me very, very, very happy. Rabbi traveled in from Pardes Chana today, but he really came all the way in from Montreal, where he lives, where there is lots of snow and no sunshine. He's like, rain, psh, no big deal, you know.
2 feet of snow, I think it's better than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's happy, and he's known as the Love Rabbi, which he's a little embarrassed about the term.
Very.
I'm outing you. But I think it's a great title. And he also basically, I call him my twin, not in real life twin, but like my business twin, because what we do is very much the same. Our views are very aligned. It's very hard to get us divided, although there's a few hot topics that maybe will be triggered. Has also done a lot of writing, recording. He has, you give the list of podcasts and stuff. We have to list them.
It's all good.
No.
You'll look me up afterwards, it's fine.
Okay, we'll talk about it. We'll write. I'll put his name on the board, and we're gonna start. So you start while I put your name on the board, because you're not telling them about you.
Okay.
And it's not a secret.
So we have a bit of a mix here today, meaning that this is going to be recorded, and I want you to know that, because people have asked to record it, and that's important for them and for those people who aren't here right now, but which means that we want to be vulnerable, because we don't learn without vulnerability. And so what we did here was we put these papers and these pens on the table.
Not the papers, just the 3x5 cards, the colored ones that you have. The papers saved for you.
Yeah, no, but the papers are also important, because if you have a question in the middle of what we're saying, and you want to ask it anonymously, you can just send it up, and we will say it anonymously and answer your question, just like that. So that way you can feel like this is an intimate conversation without having the vulnerability of worrying about your voice being on a recording for all time, and somebody saying, hey, who was that? Oh, I recognize that person, because it's going to go around for the whole day, and probably not a great idea. Okay.
And you can put more than one question on the colored cards. You can put on the front, on the back. You can put 10 questions, as many as you can squeeze in. Fair?
Yes.
On the index card?
Yeah, on the index card.
So let's get started.
Hold on.
Yes.
But if I can't write questions.
She can't write in English.
You can't write in English?
What language?
Hebrew?
Russian.
Russian. No, it's not one of our specialties. So
Not yet.
maybe tell somebody one of the questions and they'll write it for you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Somebody will do that? Okay, fantastic.
Okay, any other questions, comments, death threats?
Not yet.
Okay, good.
Norms and rules?
That was it.
Oh,
We got it.
is that privacy?
No, obviously if you have a story that you want to tell it theoretically, even though we know you're asking for a friend.
I have a friend. Everybody has a friend. Nobody's asking for themselves.
Exactly. It's always a friend.
If,
Yeah.
sorry, if like, even if we say for a friend we don't want to be recorded, can we talk after?
We don't care. You can talk as much as you want to talk. But the recording, we're not the only one. You guys are recording. Some people
Yeah.
asked to record. So.
We just let this be
You know what
open.
I'm saying, like after, like, are you open?
Oh, after this ends?
Yeah.
We can stick around for a little. We're not in a rush.
That'd be nice.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're not rushing yet. Okay. Any other questions, comments?
We're
Okay.
excited.
Okay.
We're excited.
You want to start?
No.
Okay. So we won't start.
Oh no, I want us to begin, but I want you to begin.
No, you can begin.
How about if we have them begin? You want
They
questions
can
first?
begin. Okay,
Let's
throw
do
something
that.
out, because the best thing is, you see, we could stand here all day and tell you all of our wonderful wisdom, but that is not going to be helpful to you, because it's not for you, and we can have a lot more than what we can do in 2 hours. So what we'd like to do today is really tailor this for you. You've come here, you've made the commitment to be here with us. My hope is that you're not just here wherever your thoughts are, that's where you are. So I know that bring your thoughts back a little bit here. So wherever your thoughts are, that's where you are. So hopefully you'll be here in mind, body, and spirit with us. So let's get started by throw something out. Somebody throw something out for asking for a friend.
How do you find your choosy boo?
How do you find your true zivug? Okay. First, okay. So we're gonna workshop and break down the question. We have to define true zivug.
And true.
And true. And then we have to define, is there only one person in the world for you? Right? Is there only one, the Basher, they're going to come down, they were named for you in Shemayim, so-and-so is for so-and-so, and that's the only one person for you. What's the answer?
Isn't there different zivugs for different parts of your life?
Are there? Good question.
I mean, from what
Isn't that true? We're going to take them.
I change. Person who belong to me change too.
Okay,
If you change, person who belongs to you, do they change too?
good question.
Fantastic question.
What else?
The question about that they asked earlier about how do you date going from secular life to religious.
Okay. And you're going from secular to religious, so do I have a secular zivug? Do I have a religious zivug? Do I have one in both worlds? Who do I have?
That's key.
Uh-huh.
I agree with that.
Me too.
I feel like a lot of us are kind of on our, we're still growing. We don't really fit into,
A box.
just not a category for anything, but just,
Nope.
we don't, a lot of us, it's not that certain, but I always think the guy that I'm with one day, is he gonna be this
Will he
religious?
still be for me
Yeah,
a year from now, or 2 or
yeah.
5 or 10? Excellent.
What's more important, right? Where you're coming from or where you're going, which is essentially.
And where are you going? And how do you know
And
where
how do
you're
you
gonna
know where you're
how do you know
going?
where you're gonna really land? Do you have a question after? Just a hand. Yes.
Okay. Everywhere live person who didn't find own person. It's mean my own person can't to be wrong.
Okay.
Mhm.
So can I find a wrong
Because
person?
it's
Is
like-
that person
No,
possibly?
no. It's every person can to be wrong, and we choose no right guy or woman near.
Is there no perfect person for me? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Is there no perfect person for me? Which means there's a lot of people out there, 8 billion of them. Okay, Judaism, 16 million. Okay, maybe a little religious, 650,000.
Hold on.
What I need to do if my own person born in North Korea or he killed or he born like black man. I haven't.
It's all good. It's all good.
Good.
No
or
judgment
he
here.
is a Chinese. I don't like Chinese guy. What I need to do?
Is it
Okay.
possible for my soulmate to be somebody that I don't really like or feel a connection to or want or have an attachment to? Don't read it yet because we're going to collect a few more, so it'll be anonymous and it'll get
It's not
flipped
from me, it
around.
came from over there.
Okay, good.
It's totally anonymous. We didn't see where it came from.
Related to this general question, I feel like also we learned recently in class about there are 7 different paths you could go on, there's your ideal path and your ideal partner, but that's different than 7 types of life. That's what makes them different.
Okay. So how many different partners, and do I get a different partner on a different path, and how do I know if I'm on the right path, and which path is the one that I should take?
It's possible I haven't this person for me.
Say it again.
It's possible
It's possible that
this person for me doesn't exist.
the quick answer to that, no, it is not possible for
Okay,
the person that's for you not to
or-
exist.
Or
That's the quick, that I can give you
or
an answer.
he is younger or older.
He's born, he's living, he's breathing, he's here in this world. He could be younger or older, yes.
Okay.
Okay, but he exists, he's here, he's in this world, and he could be with you today, possibly.
Let's take 3 more and then let's start.
answer.
Let's get started. Yes.
What if you find someone that they're everything that you thought you want or that you need, but there's certain things that you're confuse you?
So much clarity.
So
Okay.
it's where do you draw the line of how to continue or not, or even how to start it?
Fabulous, love it.
How much suffering can you get?
How much
Suffering. Can you-
suffering?
How much
3.
suffering. The 3 rings of marriage: the engagement ring, the wedding ring, and the suffering. Got it. Oh, no, we had one more here, and I think then we should go. Then we'll take questions. If you have questions, write them down. You had a question?
I was
Yeah.
asked the same thing about differentiating between like wants and needs.
Differentiation, yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Or, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm asking, religiously, like, am I looking for someone more, or am I looking for someone to kind of like grow with? Like, yeah, how do we know? Like, what we should be looking for? Yeah, how do we balance that?
Let's tackle this. Let's tackle this. Write it down. Write it down. Write it down. Okay. Ready?
Ready?
Okay. So, one of the things amongst many that we can do for you today is we can marry Judaism and science, which I think is really important because science has some very important peer-reviewed studies, data that I think we could really learn from. And Judaism has lifelong values and tradition that we can also learn from. Imagine if we can do both of them. So let's try, for example, one that I'll do for you right now, which is differentiation, which I think is going to be the most important element that's going to answer some of your questions. And that is, there's a doctor, his name is Dr. David Snarsh. Dr. David Snarsh talks about this idea of differentiation. Differentiation is how to be in a relationship while being authentically myself. It's being able to be truly myself while being in a relationship. I'll explain like this. Very often, people get into a relationship and they want to be like the other person. We mimic other people because we want to be accepted by the other person in the relationship. Some people are really stubborn. They don't mimic the other person. They're actually they go the opposite because they want to show I'm stubborn, this is my values, this is who I am. Imagine if you can be truly yourself, holistically, while being in a relationship with someone else. What would that look like? Just ask yourself the question. The most important day of the year for us as Jews, or maybe the most popular day of the year for Jews, in the diaspora especially,
Yom Kippur.
is
Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippur or Purim, Rosh Hashanah, Pesach. So Hanukkah, I think if it was called whatever holiday it would be popular, right? Because Hanukkah is just the right time of the year, outside of in the right circles. But Pesach, I think Pesach is the most celebrated, like actually celebrated, right? Because even though Kol Nidre may be the most attended, what's the words after Kol Nidre? Yeah, my point exactly. So even though it's the most attended, it's not the most celebrated. The most celebrated is the Pesach Seder. What is the Pesach Seder supposed to be? It's supposed to be a typical evening at a Jewish family's home. And what do we say to the kids? What's the first thing we say to the kids on that typical evening at the Pesach Seder?
Why is this night different than other nights?
Ask questions.
Yeah.
That's what we say to them. Ask questions. The most important thing in your life in general is asking questions. As long as you're asking questions, you're doing something right. If you're not satisfied with the answer, then continue being curious until you find yourself the answer. If you want to explore yourself and discover yourself, ask questions. Lots of questions. Now imagine if you can find your authentic self. How do we find our authentic self? How do we become differentiated? By asking lots and lots and lots of questions. And with them, you see some questions you're going to ask. Like some things I'm saying, you're going to be like, okay, that's interesting. And some are going to be like, whoa, that really landed for me. If it really landed for you, there's a reason why you had to be here today and hear that. And that's the same thing with any experience you're going to have here in yeshiva or in seminary. I don't know what it's called.
Seminary.
Okay.
Shivas for boys.
Yeshivas for boys? Okay, I apologize. I'm gender neutral. Okay. So, differentiation. The ability to be authentically yourself while being in a relationship with another. What happens to the other person if you're really truly yourself? If you're not mimicking, if you're not following, if you're not being stubborn, what happens to the other person?
Shouldn't there be some sort of balance that, like, at least from what I understand, is that whatever you're lacking, your husband or whatever your partner will have the opposite characteristic. That you guys will always be like working together. That if you lack patience, your husband should be super patient, or like
So
on a
on a Kabbalistic level, you're talking about the idea of two halves of a single whole.
Right. From what I understand, that's what a relationship's supposed to be.
So a relationship, according to Judaism, is two halves of a single whole. What if you don't know what the single whole is? Then how do you know? So often, the single whole becomes the opposite of myself. But it's not always the opposite. You're not looking for your opposite, you're looking for your complement.
Mm-hmm.
Opposites don't attract. Men and women by nature are opposites. They don't need to attract. Attraction is similarities. Similarities attract.
Mic drop. That was good. Okay, so I don't know where you want to go with the
I can continue, but I don't want to.
differentiation.
We're going to... So just to kind of finish off this idea of differentiation, if I get something down.
No.
Just to finish this idea of differentiation. How do you know what the two halves of a whole are? I'll give you an example. Let's just throw out an example. Extrovert and introvert. Every relationship is going to need extroversion and introversion. Do you know these words? This is words that I can throw out. If someone doesn't know it, say, I don't know. Because this is for all of you. Extrovert, introvert. A relationship is going to need a balance of extrovert and introvert. If I'm an extrovert, do I find an introvert? If I'm an introvert, do I find an extrovert? Is that what we're talking about as opposites? They're complements, there's elements to it. But what if I'm an extreme extrovert? Do I find an extreme introvert? Well, that's going to be conflict. There's going to be conflict there. Guess what? I have another little truth bomb for you. Conflict is good for relationships. Conflict is good for relationships. The right kind of conflict and the right kind of communication. Conflict is good. We want conflict in our relationships, but the right amount. If you have an extreme extrovert and an extreme introvert, guess what you're fighting about each night? I want to go out. I want to stay in. I want to go out. I want to stay in. Da, 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 da. So let's take a look at an entire picture. Let's give an example. What if somebody who is really open and adventurous, I want to go to Neve, I'm going to go to Israel, and I'm going to have myself an experience. And you have somebody else who's like, are you crazy? Maybe you're in a relationship like that, where you came to Neve, and maybe it happens to be, maybe you were dating someone, and that person was like, are you crazy? Because that person is closed to experience. That person always likes the same food. They always like to go to the same place. They sit at the same place in the library. They're always going to the same desk. They like things the same. Those are complementary ideas. They're not opposites. They're complementary. Someone who's open to experience versus someone who's closed to experience.
What does that mean, complementary?
Complementary means in the two halves of a whole, the unit will need both of those. We need some things. If you're raising a family, you need routine. If you're an adventurous type, which I'm assuming probably if we did a little survey here, you'd probably find a lot of the people here are quite adventurous because not everybody, other people hear about this, but not everybody actually makes the move.
I think it also means balance. Like it brings a certain amount of balance, but usually people think of balance as if I'm this way, they're that way, or opposite. They're very far on the spectrum. Okay, but if we're talking about openness to experience, you could actually both be open to experience to a high level, right? 0, not open. 100, totally open. 50, middle of the road. And let's say you're both, you're 92 and he's 87, right? You're both pretty open to experience. It's a pretty high level of openness to experience. But one person, even though you're both open, will fall into the default of being less open and appear to be more closed to experience because somebody has to rank higher, even though you're both open to experience, okay? I'm going to say the same thing with introvert, extrovert, okay? So Rabbi and I are both extroverts, okay, to a high level.
Are you surprised?
His level ranks higher than mine, okay?
Are you surprised?
In a presentation like this, who's the extrovert? Well, we're both extroverted. Who's taking the lead as the extrovert? Who's taking the lead as the introvert? He's clearly taking the lead as the extrovert. I now appear as the introvert, but I'm not. I'm not introverted, but I take the lead as that because there's somebody more extroverted than me in the same space. And with my husband, the same things happen, and it depends on what environment we're in because we're both extroverted to a very similar level. So sometimes I'll take the lead, and sometimes he'll take the lead. And so we're balanced. There's a certain balance that happens, but it's not that one of us is introverted and one of us is extroverted. We're both extroverted, but one of us plays the role of slightly more introverted and appearing to be more introverted than extroverted.
Let's
I just
take
want
an
to make sure
example
that they
of
have
emotional and intellectual,
Okay.
right? You may be intellectual, but you may be more emotional, or you may be emotional and more intellectual, opposite way around. So but in a relationship, you need both, intellectual and emotional. And so someone is going to take on that role. Who's going to take on the one that's the emotional role in the relationship? The one who's more emotional. It's just the reality. You're not looking for Mr. Perfect, you're looking for Mr. Perfect for me. And so generally, if you are leaning to a certain side, the person who you're going to marry is going to want to lean to the other side to kind of fill the two halves of your whole.
But you may be very similar. So it's not that you're marrying opposite, right? Introvert, extrovert. No, extrovert, extrovert. Just I rank higher in how it appears when we're in social circles. Okay? This whole concept is very important because it leads through personality, it leads through values, it leads through many things in our lives. And because things we like to put in boxes, so we get very narrow boxes. We get black and white, we get yes and no, we get up and down, we get introvert, extrovert. But it doesn't work that way. It works out extrovert, extrovert, but wow, somebody appears to be not as extroverted as I am. Ooh, are they introverted? No. So I want to make sure that we have a very clear definition of this because we're going to use this through everything that we move through, and it's going to help your brain to filter out all the things that I'm going to call it misconceptions and things that didn't make sense before. You're going to be like, oh, we are more similar, but he takes that role, or I take that role, or it happens like this. If you're not take dating out of the picture, friends, family members, other people that you are in circles with, classmates, you're going to see you have a different role when you're around different people. So with some people, you're going to be the life of the party and you're just exciting and everything's amazing. You're like, oh, I love it. They like really bring me out. And then other people, they're even more the life of the party and you're going to be like that little wallflower all of a sudden that turns quiet, even though you're not really that way, but they don't bring out that side of you because they bring out a side higher, which means you bring balance to the relationship and it's a lower energy level for you. And you choose people in your life and in your circles that bring out what you like. So if, by the way, you're naturally extroverted to a high level and you're like, I'm tired of carrying everybody and I'm tired of carrying the energy in the room, you're going to go find a friend who's got even more energy and you're going to sit back and you're going to enjoy the ride. And you're going to be so happy because you're like, woo, pressure is off of me. I don't have to be the one doing this anymore. Or the opposite is true. If you like to control the room, you're not going to find friends that are at a higher level than you. You're going to find those followers that are going to be like, whoa, she's great. She's a party. What are we going to do next? I don't know, but she's going to let us know, and we're going to follow her. Yes?
Our core philosophy is personality plus values equals qualities, and what you're looking for in another person is qualities.
Okay, hold on. I want to pause here so they understand.
Sure.
We're breaking things down. Personality is inherently a part of who we are. You see babies, they come into the world with different core personalities. Some are happier, some are more colicky, some have different, needs. Some want to be touched more, some don't want you, they want you to leave them alone. We come in with a certain personality, something that makes us who we are in the world, and it comes from birth. Does it shift and change over time? If it does, very, very slightly, but our personality is our personality. We are who we are. You can't just go like, oh, I want a new personality and boom, I'm going to shift it. You cannot shift your personality. You can shift your behavior. You can choose not to do something that your personality would make you normally do because you can shift a behavior, but you cannot change your core personality. It is the essence of who you are. It is your sparkle. It's what makes you you. Values are beliefs. It's what I value in the world, right? Yesterday, I didn't know about God and Torah, so I didn't keep Shabbos. Beliefs. Wow, God exists in the world? Wow, Shabbos, deep, meaningful. I'm going to observe Shabbos. Boom. In a minute, I went from not being Shomer Shabbat to being Shomer Shabbat because my belief changed. My personality didn't change. I'm still the same person. I'm a person who has a new idea, who has a new concept, who has a new belief, and therefore I have a new action in the world. I'm behaving in a different way, and I'm following a different path because my values changed, because my beliefs changed, because I understand something in a different way. So when we combine our personality and our values, we take the essence of who we are with what we value in the world, and that's also a lot of these questions are like, but who am I really, and what do I really want? You're in a state of transition, but when we combine them, we get qualities. We get qualities, which is the overarching umbrella of what you should be looking for in a partner.
Personality will only change a little bit over time. Values will change a lot over time.
And it depends who you hang out with, how your values change, right? The longer you stay here, the more that your values will either A, be in alignment with what's happening here, or if you're struggling with it, right, you might go the opposite direction. But it depends who you hang around with and what circles you're in. There's a question over here on this side.
Yeah, but I think we're gonna write them down.
If it's related though to this concept?
Yeah, just write them. If it's really,
clarifying.
if it's clarifying, only if it's a clarifying question. Yes.
I mean, I don't know if it's clarifying or not.
Okay,
I'm just kidding.
try it, and we'll either say yes or no.
Okay. So, if your values are constantly changing, obviously there's a point where they're gonna plateau. But like, at this age when we are all like, our values are changing so much, especially within Neve, when you're growing and everything. How do you decide when it's? I guess, like how.
This came up a lot because I've been reading through the questions as they came in.
The answer is yes.
This is at the core.
Okay. Good
That's the answer.
Okay, fine. So we'll touch base later.
No, I think we can dig into it.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you my personal story. I grew up Jewish. I loved my Judaism, but I wasn't living my Judaism. I grew up conservative, Philadelphia, USY, BBYO, if any of those youth groups mean anything to anybody. Okay? Loved it. I was president of Hillel in college. I ran every event. I was always like the person doing stuff. And I loved my Judaism, but I didn't live it. Why didn't I live it? Nobody ever told me. Like, I believed in God. I knew about Shabbat. I knew people did things like that. We did at some points keep kosher, not keep kosher. There was like a little bit of on and off as we learned about it. But loved my Judaism. I wasn't living my Judaism. And I went to a retreat and I started learning. And as I started learning, my beliefs started to shift. And I was like, oh, Na'aseh v'nishma, Hashem runs the world. Shabbos is the meaning of life. If that's true, then I'm probably going to have to keep Shabbat. I'm probably going to have to be somebody who observes the Sabbath because there's something clearly going on here. There's something that's actually happening. And when you start to keep Shabbat, everybody calls you Orthodox. Poof, overnight I went from being loving my Judaism to living my Judaism, which meant, poof, I was spontaneously Orthodox. And they're like, oh, are you Orthodox? And I was like, I don't know. I just like God and Shabbat. Are we good? Like, is that okay? Can't I just like God and like Shabbat? And do I need a label? And they're like, yeah, you're Orthodox. And I was like, okay, thanks. Right? So I figured out that I was Orthodox because other people told me that when you behave like that and your beliefs are in alignment with that, those are Orthodox beliefs, and you are Orthodox. What?
I remember experiencing that film, like, I'm Orthodox? What is that?
Right. And then I was like, I'm Orthodox. What does that mean? What am I supposed to do? Like, what? I called my girlfriend. I said, listen, I don't know what all the rules are, but apparently there's lots of rules. I need to go buy some clothing. How high and how long does everything need to be? She goes, I mean, it depends. I mean, how religious you want to be. I'm like, I don't think you understand. I got to go to the Gap. I got to return my jeans. I don't know what to buy. I need some baseline guide. Is there a book? Is there a book that has the rules? I need the rules. I need to know how to dress. I have to buy clothing. She's like, listen, collarbones, elbows, knees. And I was like, cover them, don't cover them, to them. She's like, it depends. It depends how religious you want to be. I'm like, I don't know, Shabbat, kosher, dressing modestly. I want to be that religious. She goes, well, it depends. I was like, okay, you're no help, right? So I went to the store and I figured, well, if you at least cover those things, that's probably the rules of where we should begin. And I returned anything that had tags on it and I rebought clothing and I kind of like got into it. But I like accidentally became Orthodox. I just happened to like God when I learned about like really what God wanted us to do in the world. I happened to like Shabbos. So I started to keep Shabbat. And then it was like, oh, you're Orthodox. And then try going online and dating. And I had a really, I have to see if I can find it. I had a really confusing profile. Because all of a sudden, I'm writing all this stuff and it sounds very Orthodox. It's sounding like Shabbat and kosher and loving God and Torah. And I still have photos dressed like however I used to dress, because who else had photos? I mean, back in the day, there were no quick snaps. Like, I actually had to develop a photograph and then, like, scan it and upload it. It was a whole thing. And
you did that?
And I had people who, like, I would write to the guys and I would send a whole blurb, a whole spiel. I'm telling them everything to explain it. And they would write back to me, I'm just spiritual. I think you're too religious for me. I'm like, no, I'm spiritual too. And they're like, no, sweetheart, you're too religious for me. Like, you want to do Shabbat like every week? I just do Shabbat when I feel like it, when I feel moved to keep Shabbat. And I was like, oh, so who do I date? And they're like, I don't know, but not me. So I clicked the box. I was on J-Date at that time. I clicked the box for Orthodox in my local area and all the criteria. 4 people came up. 4. None of which were appealing at all. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't know how to do this, okay? When your beliefs shift and you shift and your behavior shifts and things in your life shift, you have to reorient yourself. You have to look in the mirror and you have to ask that question. Who was I? Who am I? And who do I want to be? Past, present, future. Who was I? Jewish, conservative, loved my Judaism, wasn't living my Judaism. Who am I? I like this. I'm doing this. I think I want to keep doing this. I'm going to keep doing it for today because that's good. Who do I want to be? Actually, I think I want to do this long term. I think I want to raise my kids like this. I want to build a family like this. I guess I need a partner like this. Okay, and put it into perspective of where you came from, where you're at, and where you'd like to land. You don't know where you're going to land, but the direction that you're heading, because the more you know where you're heading, the more you can start heading in that direction now, and then choosing a partner that will fit a not box that you're not exactly in. Because you're not here, you're not there.
This question came in from the audience, clarifying question. What if they have your values, but their actions confuse you on whether or not they are jealous? Serious. It was a J.
Okay.
Jealous and serious. That's fascinating, by the way.
Okay. I love this question. Okay?
But, so let's ask it again, sorry. What if they have your values, but their actions confuse you on whether or not they are serious?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Actions speak louder than words, period. I value Shabbat. Are you keeping Shabbat? No, not today. But when we get married, I'm going to keep Shabbat. That's nice. You make a decision based on today, based on who somebody is today, and not based on what they say, based on what they are doing today. Maybe they will, maybe they won't keep Shabbat. I don't know. You want to marry them? They say I don't keep Shabbat, but I want to when I get married. Okay, great. You also have to be okay with them not keeping Shabbat. Where they are today is where they are today, is where they are today, is where they are today. It's the only real thing in the world, Rabbi.
It's not who you want them to be.
And it's not who they want them to be either. Who they want to be is very nice. But you can't marry on a wish, a hope, and a dream. As long as you say to me, Aleeza, I'm okay. Shomer Shabbat, not Shomer Shabbat. It's okay. He doesn't know. He says he wants it. His values, his words, his beliefs are that he wants it. His actions are that he's not doing it. As long as you're okay with it going either way, because we don't know which way it's going to go, it's a roll of the dice. You don't, I don't know. 7. Yay. 2. Okay. We really don't know which way it's going to go.
What if someone says they're open to growing?
Yes, open to growing is great. You have to accept them today for who they are today. Growing means like this. I grow this way, I grow this way. How do we grow with our bodies? Sometimes we get bigger and sometimes we get smaller. Sometimes they get more religious, sometimes they get less religious. Growing can go either direction. I'm happy with growing, I'm happy with growth oriented, but I need to know who you are today and I need to accept exactly what you are doing today. And yes, I hope that we're heading in a similar direction, but I don't know where we're going to land. I know what's true today, and I can only make a decision based on that. It's very dangerous to go, but they will keep. I had a guy, Aleeza, I'm going to keep Shabbat when I get married. I said, what are you going to do between now and then? They're like, I don't know. I mean, I'll just wait for them. I said, why would she even date you? Why would somebody who keeps Shabbat want to date you? You don't keep Shabbat. You're not doing the same things. You're not in alignment. He said, that's a really good point. I said, okay. What would you like to do about it? I just put the information out there. He said, well, I think I'll do Shabbat next week. I said, okay. What are you going to do? He said, I'll invite friends. We'll have a Shabbat meal. I said, okay, great. He had a great Shabbat. The next week I said, no. He goes, well, that was good. I liked it. I think I'm going to do it again. This week I'm going to go out to my rabbi's house. I said, great. He started keeping Shabbat. And then he told me about all the other things he was going to do when he got married. I said, what else? He goes, well, I like this tefillin thing. I mean, I have a pair. I haven't used it so much, but my rabbi, and I said, okay, what do you want to do about it? He said, I think I'll try to start putting them on. I said, okay, and I'm going to start learning. I said, oh, we're learning too. Like, okay. He constantly picked up all of these things. Within 8 months, he met his person, and they got married. And she was, Shomer Shabbat and kept kosher and all the baseline of everything of what he said he wanted, but he was actually there, and he wasn't ready before that. And she would have never, ever, ever gone out with him if he wasn't actually doing those things regularly.
Clarifying question. What's the difference between seeing who they are today and seeing their potential? Fixer-uppers, not a good idea.
No, but seeing who they are today and liking who they are today and being okay with where they are today and knowing that they're on a trajectory that you like is nice. But it can't be a fixer-upper. It can't be, but he would be okay if he only did these things. But if they would only do da-da-da, it can't work. It absolutely can't work. It has to be, no, I like who they are today. I appreciate if they were, growing or doing or heading in this direction with me. But I like who they are today. We have to really, really be okay with who they are today.
Clarifying question. What do you do if you want to date, but have trouble solidifying those values? For example, I keep Shabbos at Neve, but struggle at home not coming from a Shomer Shabbos home.
Yeah. I have another client, and she had the same issue. And when she went home, it was like, I'm Shabbos-ish. We kind of the refrigerator and the light and the whole thing, and my mom with the bulb, and so like that I don't worry about, and the shul, like we drive there, we don't walk there, and she had this whole thing, and we talked about what kind of a person that she wanted, and she really said she wanted somebody who was Shomer Shabbat, and we talked about living at home during the week, but going out for Shabbat every single week. I can't keep Shabbat at home. I can't. When I was at home, I taped the refrigerator lights, I taped the regular lights, I taped everything, and I just said, if you could just not touch it, pay the electric bill anyway, it has to stay on all night, don't worry about it, don't pretend and turn it on and off, and because just leave it, can everybody just leave it and we'll be okay? And it was rough. It doesn't fly. It's very hard to be Shomer Shabbat in a non-Shomer Shabbat environment, but it's pretty cheap to live at home. So my advice is, live at home during the week, but go out for Shabbat and the holidays so you can observe in the way that you want to observe. Don't try to do it in an environment that is not conducive to doing it. It's painful for you, it's painful for them, and it's overwhelming. It's exhausting. It's really, really difficult. Really difficult.
Okay. If you need anything on this board, it's gonna leave in a few minutes if you want to write anything down. And Aleeza, we have questions. Lots of questions.
Good, let's rock and roll.
And we want to get to every single one of them because they are all equally important. Okay. How and when do you bring something up from the past that you're scared will end the date or the shidduch? For example, I dated or married a non-Jew, etc., etc., etc.
I think information is relevant when there's enough of a bond, meaning you don't want everybody to know the skeletons in your closet, whatever you're considering your own skeletons, or it could be also a private medical condition, it could be something with the family that's a trauma from the past, there could be all sorts of things that have to be discussed. They're really only relevant if this person is close enough to being your person. So not on a first date and a second date, a third date. It depends on, I can't really give date numbers because also sometimes people get really deep in 2 dates and then you really need to say something. But in general, there has to be, you're not a nobody to me. You're somebody I'd like to see, and you're somebody I see some potential with based on the amount of information that I have, and therefore I want to share this with you because it's important that you understand it and that you know it. But I also want to say, you have to pitch your information from a neutral point of view. Like, you can't come in and be like, oh, I was married to a non-Jew. Oh, shame on me. Like, you can't come in from a place like that. You have to come in from, here's my life story, here's what happened, and here's where I'm at today. Like just own it. It's your stuff. It's just what it is. It's a piece of information. I have a client, and she had that situation, and she became pretty far to the right religious, and she was married to somebody non-Jewish in her, mid-20s, and she's now in her early 30s, and she's dating, and she has to bring this up on dates, and she has to talk about it. And she has listed in her profile that she's divorced. So it comes up. So they already know that she's divorced, they just don't know the circumstances surrounding it, and so they need to have a conversation. There is a halachic implication with dating a Kohen. So that would be relevant information, but usually people would just say, I'm not eligible to date a Kohen. But there is a halachic implication.
Another important element of this is when you go on a first date, you're not looking to marry that person. You're going on a first date to see if you're interested in a second date. And you're going on a second date to see if you're interested in a third date. And you're going on a third date to see if you're interested in a fourth date. So often, nothing else in our lives do we jump from 1 to 500 on the first date. It's not, can I marry this person? That's not what you're looking for. It's, am I interested? Does this person pique my curiosity? Do I want to know more? That is the goal of date 1.
You have a question?
Yeah. Okay.
I'll give it back.
Okay. Ready for the next one?
Yeah.
That is a clarifying question.
Yeah.
To this.
This is fun.
Okay.
I just wanted to borrow it.
Yeah.
I'll
Okay.
give it back.
These are very valuable.
They are really valuable.
These are very special.
We take them, we type them up, and
There are people's hearts and souls
there are.
on these papers, and I can feel them. How much do I share? Clarifying to this, and at what point? Not at one point. We already did at what point, but how much do I share? You go on a first date, and some people are oversharers, and some people are undersharers, and we're always guarded, and there's like this mix between being guarded and being vulnerable. To be in a relationship, you have to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
So how do we balance that vulnerability when dating? I just kind of added to that question to clarify it.
Do you have an answer? You got a good answer, Rabbi?
I do, but I want to hear yours first.
It's your turn.
How do you balance that vulnerability? So it's really important if you're a person who is more intellectual. So there's going to be, what we put over here are 5 common, if we look at this as an entire picture, let's look at this. So what we're looking at here on the board are 5 categories. Category 1, introvert and extrovert. Complete picture. Category 2, open to experience and closed to experience. Category 3, emotional and intellectual. Category 4, conscientiousness. If you know what that word means, that means being very, Aleeza and I are both very conscientious. We were here a half an hour early today. When they told us to be here 1:30, we were here 1 o'clock. That's being really conscientious. Someone who's really not conscientious would have been here not yet, or maybe just walking in now. So someone who's really on time, really organized, really makes sure, likes to have things organized. That's conscientious.
Intentional.
Intentional. Conscientious is intentional. Lack of direction is someone who's free-spirited. Artists are often very free-spirited because, I don't know, it's going to be okay.
I'm also an artist and conscientious.
And then there's agreeable versus antagonistic. Someone who's very agreeable is someone who's like, yes, yes, yes. Always yes. Someone who's very antagonistic is someone who's no, 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 no. So we all fall somewhere in the middle of this.
Nothing's good or bad. They're different. I love the word different. These are differences between how people act and behave, and you need each one of those kinds of things. So just for example, antagonistic compared to agreeable, you're thinking, that's not good. It's not good to be antagonistic. But if you have a team that's working on a project that's trying to solve a problem, you want about 27 people that are antagonistic on it, because they're going to nudge you about it, and they're going to say, no, but that's not right, and we have to do like this, and what about that? And they're going to keep asking questions, because they're not just agreeable and like, sure, we could just do that. They're going to make it better.
People who work in the sciences, in order to find solutions, they need to be antagonistic. They need to challenge the status quo. That's a very good thing. It could be a very good thing. Because someone who's always, imagine a bunch of people that are working on a project, and they're like, yeah. They're not doing anything. So there's good people to have people to be there, and in relationships it's also good to be agreeable, but sometimes you have to be antagonistic. Now, what this is going to show, like I said before, it's going to show the conflict within your relationship. So let's go back to vulnerability versus sharing. If you're a person for example, who is really intellectual, you may have to make a plan. Because you're probably also going to be really conscientious and you're going to want to make sure that you know what's going on. But if you're someone who's really emotional, you're going to be able to feel it out. People who have high levels of you're going to feel it out. You're going to know when it's right to say it, when it's not right to say it, how much to say it. And people who are really emotional, the more emotional of the two when you're dating is going to drive the dating. It's just a reality. And one of the two of you in every dating, relationships, they're all a dance. There's going to be a driver. There's going to be someone who's going to be the passenger. Just a reality. And it may go back and forth. Often it should go back and forth because that's the joy of dating. But what you're going to see is one will take on, as the dating continues, one of those roles. So if you're the more emotional, you may take on the vulnerability role. You may become vulnerable sooner than the other. Next question?
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. How do you know, Aleeza, how do you know when somebody is an absolute no? Absolute. What are or should be huge red flags?
An absolute no, first of all, is anything that to you is a deal breaker, period. So I can't answer that for you. Anything that for you is 100% a deal breaker, not a maybe, not a could I live with it, not a I'm not sure, but an absolute no, this does not work for me, is a no. And I don't care if somebody's going to call it silly or stupid or anything else. I don't like those words, but I don't care about anybody else's judgment about your absolute deal breaker. They don't have to live with that human, you do. So if it's an absolute deal breaker for you, it's a no. Can you guys throw out just random ideas that maybe your friends would have said no for what reason?
Asking for a friend.
That might be like silly or stupid reasons. Smoking. What else? That's it? Anger management. What else? Uptight.
Doesn't tip well.
Doesn't tip well. Okay, can I use this one?
Yes, you can.
Okay? Doesn't tip well, right?
Oh, he's
And
not a
by doesn't tip well, right? Most people are gonna go, that's so stupid. Well,
No.
You're gonna not be with him for that? For doesn't tip Bimet? Really? Really? Come on. Doesn't tip well? What does doesn't tip well tell you?
He's cheap.
He's cheap. What else does it tell you?
Stingy.
He's stingy. What else does it tell you?
He doesn't value like the work. Like I don't know, I'm a
He
waitress.
doesn't value the
so-
workers. He doesn't value the people servicing him. What else does it tell you?
He's superior.
What?
He wants things for free.
He thinks he's superior. He wants things for free.
You might penny pinch in your life too.
He's gonna penny pinch in your life probably because he doesn't tip well.
He's manipulator.
He's potentially a manipulator. Wow, he doesn't tip well. Tells us all of that potential information, and somebody's telling her you can't dump him for that.
Or he walks he lets you walk on the side of the street closest to the room. That's a big one for me.
Okay. Why does he do
Somebody
that?
here is very conscientious.
Why does he do that? That's it. Because his conscientiousness level is low. Okay? And she's saying, that's a deal breaker for me. Conscientiousness is a part of his personality. That will only maybe shift a little bit over time. It's really who he is. It's not bad. It's just not what she wants. It's not bad. It's just not what she will tolerate. And guess what? Somebody else will marry him. And it might not bother them because they might have grown up with something far different that might be worse to them. And this to them is like, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me.
Swearing at you.
I don't think.
Swearing at you.
Okay?
Oh,
Swearing,
vulgar
but-
language.
But like at you.
Yeah.
Or at others, maybe.
At others, at you.
Anger issues.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
no.
Okay? So anything that anybody tells you, oh, it's not a big deal, what does it matter? You go in your head, is that a deal breaker? If the answer is yes, I don't care what anybody else in the world says. I don't care if you tell me that they have crooked teeth and for you that's a deal breaker.
Oh, shorter than you.
Okay? Shorter than you, you're going to have to decide they're not going to grow taller. It is what it is. It just
from the
is.
beginning,
And
otherwise
some
you'll waste your
people
time.
will be okay with it. I have seen couples, she's up here and he's down here, and they are fine with it. If you're not fine with it, they won't grow. It will limit your options. Okay? You will not date anybody shorter than you. It will limit your options, and you go, and that's my deal breaker. And when you have a deal breaker, Rabbi, what's your thing about negotiations? You have to negotiate something else. I'm not willing to compromise on this. This is a big one for me. But I am willing to compromise on, I don't know, location and where I live. I'm super flexible.
Every non-negotiable needs a lot of negotiation.
Okay, so you can be firm about that, but you have to balance it and show the people that are working for you, trying to help you, listen, I'm not negotiable on this, but I want you to know I could live anywhere in the world. I don't really care. So I'm super flexible there, so you can find me anybody from anywhere. I'll fly there. I'll do it fine. That works for me. It could be anything. That's just one of the examples.
I want to give you, I want to just kind of get into the minds of everybody in the room for a second. How the heck do we figure this out? So we can, obviously, if we had a full day together, we'd be able to take you through this process, but Aleeza and I created this amazing, actually do-it-yourself little sheet that we can send you. If you email one of us, we can send you, it's called Singles Soulmate Clarity, and it'll take you through 5 very basic steps that will allow you to yourself to be able to figure this all out for yourself.
Yes, we will send it.
Just email one of us and we'll send it to you for free.
If we send it to you, can you get it to everybody?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Perfect.
so we'll send it to Shani.
Well, I think if you want to email us.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm
Because we
slow
want you
with
to want
email.
it.
You can email Rabbi.
Email me, I'll get it to you right away. I'll get it to you right away. We want you to want it. If you don't want it, we don't want you to have it.
For us? It's fine, fine.
Okay, next one.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. You ready?
Ready.
You sure?
Rolling.
Okay.
It's an inside joke.
As a BT, that means before time?
College
Oh,
Tshuva.
college Tshuva. Okay, just making a joke, and it didn't land. Not all my jokes land. Okay. My kids say I'm a dad and a rabbi. That gives me 2 strikes automatically. How do I navigate the criterias, shadchanim, and a lot of families accept or decline shidduchs based off of? For example, $signs, yichus, pedigree, weight, and family name. What shall I do?
How do I manage it?
How do I manage this? Look at this. Okay.
Wait, can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Okay. Repeating the
Should
question.
rephrase it. Give
I'm
it a
rephrasing it for the sake of the collective. There's a lot of issues when you get into the more criteria. When you get into the more
religious circles. Okay, I'm going to say it straight. He can't say it, he's a rabbi. There's a lot of things that play into a match when you're in the very or more right religious circles. So everything from money to family background to how we look at our physical look, our weight, our everything that has everything to do with everything. A lot of things come into play in a very different way than it would come into play in the secular world. And the question is, how do we manage it? And how do we manage it? So first of all, I'm glad that you asked the question, because I think you have to ask the question and get the information that you need to know. Just knowing that there's all these random criteria that come into play, you have to know that you will not know everything that you need to know. Baseline, you're probably never going to know everything you need to know. Like in some circles, by the way, on Shabbat, if you have a red tablecloth and not a white one, it's a no. It doesn't matter what your name is, and it doesn't matter how you look, and it doesn't matter how much money your family earns. If you'd have a green or a purple or a yellow tablecloth or a gold one instead of the regular white tablecloth, you won't get a shidduch with that family. Okay, I'm giving you an extreme example, because I want you to understand you won't know everything you need to know, and knowing that is actually really important, because random things will come up and you'll be like, what? And it's going to be like,
I'm listening to you and I'm thinking to myself, if they don't want me, I don't want them.
Okay, fine. That's good.
But also, like, what about
We just solved the problem.
what about if you're dating in shidduchim and like, cause you're BT, like they give you like the outcast from the religious circles. Like a lot of times, like within at least like Lubavitch communities,
do
like I
me a
understand.
favor,
Yeah.
don't go there.
I mean, I'm not, but I'm just
Don't
saying.
go there. Pick somebody else to find you a match. There's lots of people that will find you matches. Find a friend. There's so many ways. You don't have to go to a shadchan. You can go to friends. You can go to rabbis and teachers and people that you love, and they'll all find you somebody. Stop with the
No,
this is
if
too much
you
in
find
the box.
if you
Relax.
find somebody who's not being helpful to you, then don't use them. There's going to be a lot of people. A majority of the people that you meet will not be helpful to you. Okay. Take friends, for example, right? Everybody's friends. They're like, we're friends. How many people are you really best friends with? Best friends, the closest of the close, that really know you, that could really help you grow to be who you need to be, right? Maybe in this room you each have like one or if you're really lucky, you have 2 really close people that you're like,
That's not what my social media says.
those are my people. Your social media says 25,000, Rabbi, but you don't know them. They might know you, but you don't know them, right? But it's really hard to find people that know you, that can really help you, that can really work for you, that makes sense. Same thing when you go to work in a job or do something in the world. Finding that match of like, oh, we work together so well. This is like, makes sense, right? Very difficult. So finding a shadchan, finding somebody to match you and to work with you, same thing. The first match has to be with you and the person that you're working with. If you're not a good match, or if they send you lousy matches, or if they send you things that are off the wall, completely off target, and you're like, dude, do you get me? No, they don't. Move on, pick somebody else. If they keep sending them, you just say, thank you, oh, I'm busy. By the way, I'm gonna give you the secret to matchmaking right now. We told you we're gonna tell you secrets. This is the biggest secret. When you don't want to go out with somebody and you don't want to say no for whatever reason, or you have to guard yourself because you can't appear too picky and whatever, you have to say either A, I'm not available, or B, I am busy right now. Busy is from language for I'm not available to date. People think that you mean you're dating somebody else and therefore you're not available. I'm busy or I'm not available means I'm busy or I'm not available. Maybe you're traveling. Maybe you don't feel like dating right now. It could mean anything. But it's language that will guard you from being blacklisted or put in a place where like they're too picky, they always say no. I've made 10 suggestions and she never says yes, I'm not gonna help her anymore. Okay? So you have to also know how to guard yourself in the process, and that's a little bit in the religious world. That's kind of language that will speak you'll be able to speak their language. And you won't know that language unless I tell you.
Okay, station identification check. How's this landing for you? I now know that. No. I now know that.
Finish the sentence.
Finish
I now
the
know
sentence.
that.
I now know something that you didn't know before. Yes.
I know about the whole like balance thing that you taught before. How you could be something, but that someone is just a little more of that something, and that is where that divide is.
Yeah.
Not that you lack something. And
That's good. That's a good one.
I now know that.
That if I do have a non-negotiable, I have to be able to be flexible with, one of the things I previously did not consider negotiating.
I need
Okay.
to be flexible.
Yes. Yes.
Or I will be flexible.
Your choice. Yes.
If I don't want, will be
What you
flexible.
said earlier about values always changing, because my understanding.
No,
is
not
that
always. They
No,
can.
they can.
They can. Okay.
They can.
So that was confusing.
They can, and especially at your age, they hopefully will. And you have to be okay with the values you have now.
It depends on your beliefs. It depends on what you learn. It depends on who you're around. Things are going to shift. If you're very well developed and very comfortable where you're at and have grown a tremendous amount, you may have a core set of values and beliefs that are really strong that might not shift over time. But in a decade from now, you might go, oh, look at that. Didn't think that thing was going to shift. And like, oh, now because of the circumstances, actually it did. But you won't know that for like a decade from now, so call us in 10 years. but you can be very solid.
I now know that. Anyone else? I now know that.
My deal breakers don't have to be deal breakers for someone else.
My deal breakers don't have to be deal breakers for someone else.
Right, it's not a universal deal breaker. Great.
That's right. Anything else? Anything else? I now know that. Okay. I like to point on the
I
issue.
now know that we're bringing Rabbi Aleeza back to do another one of these. This is good.
So now let's do some rapid fire, because we want to get to every single one of these.
You better move faster.
And so let's do rapid fire. Rapid fire means 30 seconds or less. Are you ready?
Okay.
On the clock. You meet so many people. How do you know who's the right one?
Personality, values, qualities, but we have to add to that. Besides personality, values, qualities, and making sure there's alignment, because we know that not opposites attract, but similarities attract, we have to make sure that your fears, your general fears about relationships. I'm afraid of getting divorced because my parents got divorced. I'm afraid of...
Oh, let's focus on that for 1 second. 30 seconds on that. If your parents got divorced or they weren't happy...
I'm afraid that I won't be happy, therefore I don't want to get married, or I'm nervous about getting married.
First of all, whose fault was the divorce? How do you know that? Who do you ask?
Together.
Who do you ask?
Your
Whose
parents.
fault was the divorce?
Your parents.
No,
Oh,
it's not their story, it's your story. You ask yourself. And whatever answer that is, that's the right answer. You have to answer that question. Whose fault was it?
Together.
Not mine. Not mine. Why did they get divorced? Who do you ask that?
No, it's
Two.
together.
Oh no. Who do you ask that to? Why did they get divorced or why are they unhappy? Yourself.
Why
It
yourself?
doesn't matter. It's not your story. It's not, their story is not your story. You have to ask that to yourself. And number 3 is you have to decide and find a couple that you say, that's the marriage I want to have, and you have to interview them like you're a journalist from another planet. You interview them. Number 1, it's not my fault. Number 2 is, the reason why they got divorced is my story. And number 3 is, you interview them. And those 3 things, according to the studies, will eliminate a lot of the issues that come up for people that are from unhappy relationships or divorces.
I'm confused on that.
I'm confused on the second.
I don't understand. When was divorce, it's like two people
Okay.
together is fault. Not one. Not my
It
fault.
does not,
No,
but the point is that it's never the child's fault. Very often, if your parents got divorced when you were young, you will blame it on yourself. So the first thing is, don't blame it on yourself. Number 2 is, the reason why is a very important question that you have to ask. Very important question. But you don't ask it to your parents, you ask it to yourself. The why.
Like why they got divorced?
Why they got divorced.
Whatever
It doesn't matter what the answer is, it's your answer. And it's not their answer because it's your story and it's your life and not theirs. And number 3, which is the most important, is find a couple because it means you don't have. People that come from healthy relationships, they have a baseline. They know this is what a relationship is supposed to look like. If you don't come from a healthy relationship, you don't know what a healthy relationship looks like. You must discover it and find it. And the only way to find it is to find a couple that you say, this is my parents, so to speak. This is my couple.
And not that they're your parents, they're your role models for how to build a happy, healthy relationship because you didn't see that. And it's not, with divorce, there's so many different things that happen. You may have seen a healthy or healthy-ish relationship for a number of years and then things broke down. So it could be like 10, 12, 15 years. I saw something, it was healthy, and then I don't know what happened, something else happened. But we're trying to rewrite the story so that you have a healthy imprint on you of knowing what you want to build and have a role model that has done that you've seen an example of that. So wait, we have to jump out of this because we zoomed in. So in terms of, the question is, how do I know?
How do I know this is my one?
How do I know this is my one?
This is my person.
So in terms of that, I call it soulmate clarity. Like, how do I know that this is my person? Your values, well, we're going to call it the qualities. Your personality and values combined, those things have to be in alignment to a high degree of compatibility. It has to be that there is alignment there. Otherwise, you're not going to want to stick with somebody long term. In terms of fears, any type of fear, I have a relationship fear. If somebody had any type of sexual violation, they might have a fear of sexual intimacy. Okay? That's mine. I own it. It's not the other person's. It's going to come into our relationship. It's going to play on our relationship, but it's something that I'm coming in with. It's a fear that I have. It's a trigger for me based on a trauma from the past. If I have that, I have to know, do I feel safe with this person? Do I feel physically comfortable with this person? Okay? So we have to know that our fears are not being triggered to a high degree. Our fears will be triggered, but we cannot constantly, in a long-term healthy relationship, have fears triggered to a very high degree. It won't work. And we also have to know that our bothers or irritants, the things about the other person that I don't like so much, also are triggered to a middle-of-the-road level where it's like, I don't like it, but I can handle it. Okay?
Do you think these traumas need to be fully worked through before you should start dating anyways?
Right, so traumas are something that we carry with for our entire lifetime, and I would recommend that if you're in a place of really navigating the trauma, get a therapist, get somebody that you can work that through with, but you're never going to be
like fully you.
Like an alcoholic still goes to AA and still has their meetings and still has their sponsor. It's a lifetime thing. So our traumas and our fears and our triggers, as much as we heal them, that's our kind of like our baseline imprint that we can overcome, but we live with it. So you just need to get to a healthy level of, I can handle this in my life. I can navigate it. It's not holding me back from being able to be in a healthy relationship.
It's a darn shame. I follow myself wherever I go. Okay.
Got the mic.
Okay. What if you're not shidduch from? How shall one date without a shadchan? So I think it's important. Aleeza and I have a philosophy about matchmaking, which is a unique philosophy. We don't believe in shadchan. That's not a word. It's too vague a word. Every single match, whether it's your friend, whether it's some random person on a bus, whether it's whoever it is, every match is going to have 3 parts to it. It's going to have an introducer, someone who introduced it. Whether it's yourself, you could be your own shadchan. You could be your own person. It could be J-Swipe.
And everybody calls the introducer the shadchan. When people say, oh, you need to get a shadchan, what they're saying to you is you need an introducer. You need somebody to set up a date for you. That's the person you should go to.
Saw You at Sinai could be your introducer, but that's your introducer. You need 2 other parts of the matchmaking process in order for the match to be successful. You're going to need a coach or mentor, someone who can be able to guide it along. Now, you can have your own coach or mentor, or you can have someone who's a coach or mentor for the relationship, which means you could find your person and say, hey, I don't really know how to navigate this. I need to find a shadchan, a matchmaker, who's a coach or mentor who can help me navigate this, and this is going to be our go-between.
A coach or mentor can also be a rabbi, a rebbitzin. It could be a teacher. It could be somebody who has skill and experience that you connect with deeply, that you know they get you and they understand relationships. They have to be able to help you navigate a relationship, help you to get from date 1 to date 2 to date 10.
And what we believe is the most important of the 3 is the person who's going to seal the deal and help you seal the deal, which is the fixer. We don't like this word. If you have a better word for us, let us know. But it's basically a person who's going to deal with the conflicts. There's so many great matches that don't make it to engagement because they couldn't navigate the conflicts. They couldn't navigate the issues. Sometimes you think it's a non-negotiable. You think it's a non-negotiable, but it really is a negotiable. You think that, there's a location issue. There's always going to be something that needs to be negotiated, and you may need a negotiator. Maybe it's a negotiator.
Navigator?
A navigator or negotiator. I know, we're constantly playground. We call this our playground. We're constantly playgrounding with ideas.
Middleman.
Yeah. The middleman. Yes. The consultant. I don't know. Yeah. So that's really important. So even if you find it yourself, even if you're going online, whatever it is, you're going to need to go through these 3 steps. And you could do it alone, but you could do better with the right support. There's no problem. People have gotten successfully married alone, but more people have gotten successfully married with support. Okay, next. If he's perfect for me, but there's no attraction, do I have to try harder?
Okay, wait. We have to go through the question. If he's perfect for me, but I'm not attracted, then he's not perfect for you. No, but what they're saying is, if he's perfect for me in a values match, maybe in a personality match, but he's not perfect for me in a looks match, okay? If he's not perfect for me in a looks match. So it goes like this, and this is a pretty easy one. Either A, I'm repulsed. Repulsed means no. Repulsed means like, ooh. I had the situation the other day that a client said to me, she's dating, she's not in the religious world, she's in the secular world, and he reached out to hold her hand, and she smacked him. And I said, why'd you do that? She goes, I don't know, I can't even picture, I said, okay, we're done. She goes, but he's so great. We did our whole clarity chart on him. We have green, yellow, orange, right? Green is like good, yellow is like okay, and orange is like eh. He was like green, 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 and a little bit of yellow and no orange. He was an outstanding, probably she might not find a better personality and value belief match for her, and she was repulsed. That's a no, okay? If it's not that, that's a no. If it's like, it's not my look. It's not, I'm normally attracted to like the dark look, and he's like blonde, and it's like not my look. It's different than being repulsed. If it's not my look and he's really an outstanding match for me, give it twice as long as you would give it. So if you normally only give it a date or 2, give it 4 or 5. You have to give it longer. Your eyes need to catch up to your brain and your heart. Your brain and your heart, like.
If when I look a guy, I understand is like he's attracted or not. And if I say
an eye person.
he doesn't look like
Right.
for me, I say no.
Okay, but
Like, totally.
that means you're repulsed.
That's
I'm
just
talking
for you
about, I'm
and
talking,
nobody else in the room.
No,
Just
I'm
you.
talking about for somebody who says it's not a hard no. A hard no means no, never. He's not my look. That's not a hard no. He's not my look is, I'm not used to what I'm seeing. He doesn't look like anybody in my family. He doesn't look like any of my friends' circles. It's not a look I ever imagined in my mind that I would be with. But a hard no is, you know, get away from me. Okay? That's a hard no. Anything in between that, all I'm saying is try twice as long if everything else is excellent. If everything else is like, you don't have to try, like that's and this is no, so forget it. But if everything else is outstanding, yes, it's worth trying harder. Will you get over it? I don't know. Maybe. And find one physical quality you like. The shape of their eyes, the jawline, the fact that their ears don't stick out, their hands, I don't care. Find one physical quality that you could appreciate about them and hyper-focus on that to get through the dating just to see if you can build something.
You will naturally, because your defense mechanism is up during dating, you will naturally find things you don't like. It's hard to find things you like. And the value, how do you find things you like? It's very simple. If you don't like the guy, think about your friends. Right away, turn the date into, who can I set this guy up with? And ask him questions so you can see you can set him up. Because actually, you may set him up. By the way, most matches happen from friends and people who date. Because the truth is, we may be meeting people and may be able to make matches. But you, dating the guy, will know a lot more about him than anything that a matchmaker can know. And so you have a better chance of setting up your friends than anybody else.
Pass them around.
Pass him around.
That's
Which
normal.
means great.
Don't follow the broker.
If he's a,
Pass them around.
if he's a great guy, if he's a great guy, but not for me,
Who is he for?
who is he for?
It's like a very normal thing within the shidduch world.
Yeah. Okay. Does this work only for Jews or for everyone?
Everyone. Universal advice and wisdom for everyone. Period. Next question.
Okay.
Okay, if for everyone, it's mean people who die now in the war, like
Oh,
they.
alive or not alive? We had. I understand that. Okay. So, got it. Is it mean that there's somebody really out there for me, or maybe could it be that the person is not alive anymore, or the person's from a different?
No, we already covered that.
Yeah.
Your person is living, breathing here. They're in this
Yes,
world.
yes, but if he's died, like
Then
in
there's
the
a
war.
new person. You get okay. So now we're getting into the soulmate
He
question.
born this new,
No,
Yeah.
he's already living.
but it mean isn't one.
This is
Yes,
this is
it's
a.
not one.
Do we want to? Do we want to
Okay,
tackle
We
this?
have to.
Okay.
We have
It
to.
mean you say it's
Hold on, we're
only
gonna-
one person.
No, there's not.
No.
We're gonna
We're-
hit it. We're gonna hit it.
I understand.
Okay, we're gonna break the stereotype. Here's the next secret. There's not only one human being in the world for you, and there's not only one soulmate in the world for you. Okay? Are there levels of soulmates? Yes, there could be levels of soulmates. Is there a certain specific number of soulmates? I don't know. How many times would you like to get married? Because every time you get married under the chuppah, right? Boom, you break the glass. Mazel tov, you're married. You know what you are? You're soulmates. So if you do that 47 times, then you potentially have 47 soulmates. I don't. I'm not doing that 47 times. But somebody could potentially have 47 soulmates. Because a soulmate is not only made in heaven. A soulmate might be designated in heaven, but it's made on earth. And the way it's made is under the chuppah, you get married, and boom, you break the glass, and you made your soulmate. You chose your soulmate, and in that moment, that is your soulmate. How many soulmates can you have? There's an unlimited number of soulmates you can have. How many are going to be really a good soulmate for you? A whole nother discussion. But you could make anybody your soulmate potentially, and probably you've seen some people marry just anybody. Now, are there levels of soulmate? Is there like a first level soulmate? Is there a second level soulmate? Yes, there's levels to which there's going to be compatibility, connection, and all those good things. There's definitely levels. Rabbi and I are having a deep debate and discussion on this, and I'm really digging in. We talked about Rachel and Leah, right? Who got married first?
Leah.
Leah got married first. That should be his soulmate. The first one you marry should be like, mamish, your soulmate. Who did he love, feel a connection to more? And who, mamish, do we believe was his mamash soulmate?
What if they're not Jewish?
Rachel. Hold on a second. Rachel, right? Rachel. That's who he loved. That's who he worked for all those years. That's who he really married, right? That's who he wanted. But he ended up having more than one soulmate. Is there one that is either more well-suited, more well-fit? Yes. Is there one that you might love more or feel deeper connection to? Yes. How many soulmates can you have? How many times do you feel like getting married?
The work of Dr. Asa Romanelli, the Israeli psychologist, he says that you will marry different people. You will marry many times in your life. The question will be to the same person?
Right.
Uh,
Well, you renew your relationship, renew your marriage, and so to speak, remarry the same person.
my soulmate.
What? Dr. Asa Romanelli, you should look him up. He's fantastic. He lives in
Can you write
Kfar Saba.
Can you write his name on the board?
Sure.
Can I ask?
Okay, hold on a second. I want to go, before that, I want to go into this very important question. What if your soulmate is not Jewish?
Okay, so we have. Can you do this in a way that's
Sure. Very happy.
yeah? You do
Um,
grab out of there.
This is a very complicated topic. People will disagree with us on this, but we'll try to navigate this as nice as possible. We're going to try to be politically correct. If there was no recording here, I probably would say this a little differently. But because there's a recording, if you want, you can turn off all your recordings and I'll say it differently. But
Can we do that?
Yeah, can we do that?
There's a lot of recordings.
there's a lot of recordings and someone's going to record it.
I want to hear like the brutal honest truth.
Guys, just pause.
Everyone pause.
So we can do it after.
We'll do it after. If anyone wants a
We'll do it at the
brutal
end
truth,
today.
you'll come to us later.
Yeah, I want the brutal truth.
Okay, but this will be brutal truth enough for you. We believe that there's lots of different types of soulmates. Some of those soulmates are what we're going to call the Adam and Eve soulmates, which are ezer kenegdo, which are a helpmate against you. They're going to be people who are going to challenge you to be a better version of yourself. Others are yes, dear soulmates. Yes, dear. Yes, dear. Yes, whatever you want. Those are people that will not challenge you to be a better version of yourself. They're not going to help you grow. There are people who make the choice to choose the yes dears over the ezer kenegdo because they don't want the challenge, because they want the easy way of life, which in sense is going to have a different part of struggles. And it could be possible that those people will be not Jewish. And it could be they will even match with you. But your ezer kenegdo, the person who's going to help you grow and become a better person, for a Jewish person, is going to be a Jewish person. For a non-Jewish person, will be a non-Jewish person. Now, not that we think that anyone is less or more, not that we think that one is chosen or not chosen. It's that what is good for you and what is good for them. Can you control who you fall in love with? Our answer, yes. Okay. We're going to get to all of these, so we can't take any hand raise. If you have something to say, send us a note, and we're going to try to get it to them all.
Oops, sorry.
Okay. Is there Kiddusha, is there holiness in non-Jewish marriages?
It's a rabbi question.
I think I answered it.
No, but non-Jewish to I'm not you. I don't know if somebody wants to answer, but are you talking about a non-Jew to a non-Jew, or are you implying a non-Jew and a Jew?
I'm going to say non-Jewish marriages. Aleeza and I just performed a ceremony together. It was a beautiful ceremony. It was in Montreal about 3 weeks ago. And it was a Noahide couple. They were both non-Jews who followed the 7 laws of Noah. And they wanted a rabbi to marry them. And it was the most fantastic, first of all, just saying. I know often it's the rabbis that do the weddings, and we are both available, by the way, if anybody needs us. Not a paid for advertisement. But having the feminine touch up there under the chuppah, different level. Sorry. There's things that Aleeza did that I could never do under a chuppah.
He did all the legal stuff, all the stuff that needed to be kosher, so to speak.
Yeah. I did the rabbi stuff, and Aleeza made the magic happen. And it was beautiful. The bride was crying tears of joy. And it was amazing. And this was a couple who were non-Jews, who did not believe in other religions, and they wanted it to be the Jewish way. And we were able to help them through that journey, and it was a very beautiful moment.
What about Jewish, non-Jewish?
Jewish, non-Jewish, like interfaith?
Yes.
We won't do an interfaith wedding.
No.
I'm not saying you specifically, but I'm saying the question.
What do you think of it? So the question is there holiness in a Jewish, non-Jewish? They have different tafkid, they have different purposes in life. That's the reality. You know, the reason why we're in this world, it goes to an existential question, is the purpose of being in this world. The purpose of being in this world is to uplift this world.
Right.
So we need to make sure there's a unique reason why each of our souls came into this world. And no one that lives before us, no one that lives during our lifetime, and no one that will live after us is going to have the same unique purpose as us. And that's just the reality. And so we have to make sure that the things we do are in line with our unique purpose. And you have to decide that for yourself. Okay. Let's say, it's a long question. I love long questions. Let's say I rejected someone because they didn't have something that I wanted them to have. A job, for example, asking for a friend. But I also told them to reach out to me once if they made the change, I guess, which means they got themselves a flippin' job. Would it be a mistake to consider dating them once they made the change?
Yeah. If that's the only thing that you really were opposed to. But if you were saying that it was the job and really you didn't like how they looked, or if you were saying it was the job and really it was a personality, don't go back with them. But if that was really like your one hang-up and that shifted for you, then I would reconsider it. But I would also say, like, if they lose the job, are you going to ditch them again? Because you have to, like, really, right. So you have to think about that. But in general, yeah, you should revisit it if you nix them for one specific criteria and they now fulfilled it.
If they also challenge you.
If the rest things are aligned. Go.
Okay. I've been dating secular my whole life. How and where do I start dating as a religious, I will quotation mark that, Jew?
Yeah, it's just, I feel like this was my answer. Like, how Jewish do you want to be? How religious do you want to be?
Is it Jew?
Right. It depends. So if you're, some people will navigate the dating world and they'll kind of do it on their own. They won't do it with the matchmaker. They'll stay in, like, you know, the traditional or modern world of dating, and they're still going to do it on their own. It's easier. They like it. It navigates better for them. Other people are like, that's it. I'm in. Hook, line, and sinker. You know, Torah, Judaism, Shabbat. I need to get into the system. You have to create a dating profile. By the way, they call dating profiles resumes. Resumes in English are for getting a job. Resumes in Judaism are for getting a husband or a wife. So you'll need your resume with or without a photo. Depends on how religious you are. Depends on what circles you run in, right? And so I'm giving you a generic answer because I don't have enough data and information to give you a specific answer. But if you want to start dating in the, you know, religious circles, then you have to find somebody who's doing that and kind of like mimic and copy how they're going about the process, because you won't know everything that you need to know, and it depends which circles you want to be in and how you're going to do it.
If you're already dating in that circle, we'll give you a little trick to be noticed by matchmakers. And that is, find something unique about yourself that, or what you're looking for, and tell it in a story. I'll give you an example. It's a very extreme example. So,
Crazy.
Okay, it's a crazy example, but it happened to me recently, and I think it's so crazy that I think you'll understand what I'm saying. So, I generally, when I do matches, I do secular matches. I don't do very many religious matches, some, but mostly secular matches. And so I always want to find that narrative, that story. What's that dating story? And so this girl comes to me about, a woman comes to me about, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and she says to me, I want a bad boy. You know, the guy with the tats and the motorcycle. I want one of those guys. To each their own. To each their own. I don't judge. Sure, no problem. So I'm like, okay, well, the bad boy doesn't really tell anything. So we started going through her process, and we went through kind of getting clarity of what she's looking for. And as a result of that, we put together this story. You ready? Do you know how to explode a building with dynamite?
What?
Do you know how to explode a building with dynamite? So, you know how you used to see in the cartoons where they put it horizontal? Well, if you put it horizontal next to the building, it's going to explode the building next door. Because dynamite comes out of the front in a funnel way. So
Shoots out like a rocket.
Shoots out like a rocket. So in order to be able to explode the building, you need to actually have it has to be on a perpendicular way, it might be diagonal, facing the building in order to explode it. If that's interesting to you and you want to know more, I want to date you.
That was her story.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, but the person who connects to that is going to be like, found my person. So it'd be very easy to identify. So your story obviously is not going to be as extreme as something like that. I'll give you a more basic example. I had a client who told me, she's like, I want a guy who can wear pink. confidently. I was like, okay, great. A, she's not looking for a guy who's wearing black and white. Good, that in terms of religious circles, that tells us one thing. B, it tells us pink. Okay, he's got to be like masculine and manly, but like can carry off pink. C, it tells us that he doesn't have this masculine, feminine, like confusion stuff. Like he's clear, he's strong, he's inside core, outside. Like it gives you a vision of what she's looking for. Is it a random piece of information? Yes. Does it tell you how old she is, where she lives, what she does, what she wants? Nothing. It tells you nothing. It is a random, nonsense piece of information that people are like, psh, what do you need it for? And at the same time, it tells you everything in one sentence. And the best thing about it is it's memorable. I still remember her. Ask me how many people I've met and how many stories I've heard. That story, I remember. I know her. Even if I don't remember her name, she's the one with the pink. That's the one, you wanted a guy with pink. And she's like, how'd you remember that? Because it's memorable. Okay? I'm looking for a nice boy. He should like to learn, and he should be good, and have good midos, and be kind, and generous.
Nice.
He should want to get tzedakah and build a beautiful Jewish home. Great, you all want that. Now tell me something else. That's a baseline. I know that, and everybody knows that. Tell me something that I don't know. Tell me a piece of information that's going to be memorable to me, that I'll be like, oh, that's the girl who wants a guy in pink. That sticks with me, and it gives me more information than you actually know. You have to back it up with a real resume. People might tell you, you can't tell people anything like that. That's weird. That's strange. I'm going to tell you, it's memorable and it works every single time.
Aleeza, I'm very conscientious. We said 2 hours. We have 25 minutes left and 30 questions.
That's fast.
Okay,
I don't
are
know.
you ready for this?
They might also overlap, so
They
we'll
will.
have to like
Like
stick
for
with the
example, this
overlap.
one. When does height and attraction play in? We already spoke about that.
Yep.
We're good. Okay. What if you've been with someone for a long time and started growing together with them, but feel that he is a little further ahead than you? How do I know if I'm holding him back or not? I'm gonna drop a truth bomb,
Yeah.
and you can also add to that. Generally speaking, I'm generalizing because we're a lot of people here. If it was specific, I would be specific. But generally speaking, if she's more ahead religiously than him, good. If he's more religiously ahead than her, bad.
Not bad, but challenging.
Challenging.
Wait, why?
Because she sets the tone for the home. Because she does or doesn't sing Shema to the kids at night. Because she does or doesn't keep kosher and makes the house okay. Because she does or doesn't light Shabbos candles. We bring the energy into the home of what we want. And if he has an expectation of wanting and needing a home like this, and you're not holding there, not only are you going to feel like you're holding him back, you're going to let him down about the family. All the things that he actually really wants are not going to be in alignment with his values, and you're going to always feel schlepped along.
I'll give you an example. Guy came to me last week and he said, I want to keep kosher. I've been studying with a rabbi, I really want to keep kosher. And I said to him, do you make the food? And he said, no, my wife does. I said, sorry, not your choice. And so he's in a relationship of which he's now growing, and he's in a conundrum. But that's the reality.
So what do you do? What do you do then? You just leave them?
What?
No.
No, they have to negotiate it.
Watch the levels, see where you're at, and see also, am I growing, and am I only growing because he's like this and so I'm leaning in? But if I didn't have him, I'd be going like this or I'd be going like that, because that's my baseline, but he's pulling my baseline over here. If he's pulling your baseline, it's a problem, because you're going to level out and go back down to that baseline unless you're doing it for you and not for him. We have to have you not doing it for them.
This is generalized. We're really generalizing here.
Right, a specific situation. No, don't break up.
Okay.
Don't break up based on any of the information that we're telling you.
Yes, this is very general.
But also, as you're growing, you don't know where you're going to end up. You might be 10 miles ahead of him. Yeah, and a year from now, you just might totally flip. So you're at a growing stage. So I would say don't make any decisions. Just grow. Just grow. If the personalities match and the other things match and you're dealing with the religious values and how they do or don't match, just grow and you'll see where you level out.
We have a big one here. Take a deep breath.
Okay. Don't break up. None of you. No breaking up. Everybody just stay. See where you level out to.
We have another big one. You ready?
Ready?
Sure.
Maybe.
I want to open myself up to dating more, but struggle with bringing new people into my life, especially males. Any advice?
There's probably, just from the way that the question is worded, that there's probably a past history and a trauma of something, whether it was a father that wasn't present or an abusive situation or something that was uncomfortable or something that happened. There could have been a previous relationship where something actually happened in that relationship. And just from the wording of the question, my advice at this point would be to get support and just acknowledge what's going on and see where the root of that is coming from and how to work through that before bringing somebody in. Like figure your stuff out so that you can welcome somebody in a different way instead of trying to figure it out simultaneously with them. Take care of the me before we deal with the we.
I know a world-renowned specialist named Aleeza Shalom who specializes in this.
No, not with therapy and trauma and something else. That would be, I think, it depends on what it is.
Okay.
It just depends on what it is.
In shidduch dating, how many dates are recommended?
Depends how religious you are. What have you heard?
3.
3.
3.
5.
Okay, and if you've heard 3, what do you need to know by 3? If this is your person?
If you want to like continue going out with them, like if you
want to
see a
continue going
future
out or you
with
want to
them.
marry? What's the marry? And you can on 3.
3, wow.
Okay.
I've only heard that in like Hasidic circles.
Okay. We're going to use broad, sweeping language here because it's a yeshiva, Hasidic, you can come up with a million terms. In circles, I'm going to use to the right or to the left. Neither's good or bad, it's just different. In circles, more to the right. People are dating at a more rapid pace. They usually like to get engaged. A standard would be like get engaged by date 10. Okay? Date 3 means I really like you, I think there's potential. Date 5 means we're probably heading towards engagement, but I'm not sure yet. Mm-hmm. Date 7, 8 means, wow, we should probably talk to family. And date 9, 10 is like we're basically pre-engaged, but we're not engaged, but we're going to get engaged.
And if you're secular, just turn date into month.
Fast. Correct. So it could be one month, 3 months. It could be a longer timeline. If you're in a more middle of the road or left, call it circles, it might be somewhere between a 3-month timeline or longer, around a 6-month timeline until getting to engagement. And if you're in the more secular circles, anywhere from 6 months, 9 months, a year plus on like that. There's personally, if you're, balas tshuva, if you're shifting and you're growing and whatever, you need more time. I would highly not recommend doing it in 10 dates. Even if you could do it, even if it's too fast for you, it's probably too fast. If it's not too fast for you, it's definitely too fast for your family. My personal story, definitely too fast for my family. It worked and it stuck, but only because I'm really obnoxiously stubborn about things and I know what I want. And it worked because it really was the right person, but everybody in your life probably needs more time to process it. And a longer timeline, like 2 to 3 months, would be much more reasonable. And even if it went 4 or 5 months, 6 months, with the right type of person, it would probably be healthier. But yes, Shomer Negia and all of these different things, it layers it and it's complex.
Okay, next question.
Go.
Ready?
Ready.
What's the difference between a soulmate and a zivug?
Language, different,
Okay,
Yiddish and Hebrew.
That was my question. It's because I heard that it's like zivug is predetermined, like 40 days before you conceive, and then soulmates, like you have 7 soulmates depending on what level that you are in your life. So let me ask you a question.
Can you what does it matter? What do you want? What's at the root of what you're asking?
Like I'm asking if I want to be with one person, if I to choose zivug, you want to be with that person, and that soulmate can turn to that zivug, can they not? Because I had a discussion with my friend the other day. So
Yeah. We have this whole thing, and we're gonna write a book, and it's all
one of our many
about soulmates, but it's gonna come out in a year and a half, 2 years from now, because we have a tremendous amount of research to do, and everybody that I ask questions to, you ask one rabbi and you get 5 answers, and you ask 10 rabbis and you get 47 answers, and so there's a lot of material for us to pull together. The person you marry is the person that you're supposed to be with right now. And whether they're at this level or this level or this level, it's your human. At that point, it really all becomes irrelevant. So before, what you're trying to do is to make sure that there's alignment and similarities. Whether it's the true zivug, you're not going to know that till the next world. It's not something that we can figure out in this world, but you can find alignment and similarities.
Right, but don't you think it's kind of sad if someone says they're never going to find their zivug, but they're going to find potential? I find that kind of depressing.
I think that's their personality, that they like to live in that world. I think that's just mind shift. That's how I look at the world. I'm never going to find my thing. I'll never find the right seminary. It'll be good enough. I'll never find the right person. It'll be good enough. I'll never. It's just a personality.
What I would encourage for that person is to encourage them to start using the word also in everything. so that they leave the world of absolutes.
Cause like their
I also like this. That's also good. That's also bad.
Was like, cause I think everyone has a zivug. I truly believe that. But their mindset is like, everyone has a zivug, but doesn't mean that they're gonna end up with a zivug.
They might not. You might not. And people get divorced, people die and pass away, and they have to get remarried. There's lots of things that happen in life. You might end up with multiple different types of people at different types of levels that will serve you at a different purpose. The minute you're under the chuppah and the glass is broken, that's the moment that's your person. That's your person for now. That's your everything. Your zivug, your soul. You could make up any name that you want to call it. That is the ideal human for you right now, today. Whether you feel it, whether you like it, you made that decision. Hashem agrees with it. It is where you need to be. Whether you're going to be in a happy relationship or not, that's going to be up to how much work you put in. But in that moment, it is your person. And you can make it work in a beautiful, incredible way.
Amen.
Amen.
Chazak Baruch. Okay. Ready?
Ready.
We've got another hard question for you.
Okay.
You okay with this?
I'm ready.
How do we let go of masculine energy and be more feminine?
Psh, whoever said that.
Welcome to 2023, where that doesn't exist so much, but you're trying really hard. It's really hard. We've been trained to be feminine in the masculine world, and we've been trained to be much more masculine modern day than we have ever been in the last hundreds or thousands of years. It's very, very difficult. How do you do it? I would tell you behavior shifts and watching yourself. I think we talked about this yesterday.
There are men that are a little more feminine.
Yeah, okay.
You can find your person.
Okay, if you like the more feminine men, then go for it and be very masculine. You'll find a fabulously feminine man, because the men are also very much more feminine today, and the women are much more masculine. If that doesn't bother you, don't change yourself, you're fine.
But what if you want someone to make you feel more feminine? Like, what if
then
you...
you're going to want a masculine man.
But
No,
that's what
I
I'm
think you should
saying,
make
like,
yourself
how
feel
do you
yourself.
become more feminine in a, like, when we have all these outside influences? Like, how
Very
do
hard with
you...
the outside influences, one up, one down.
One up, one down.
Okay. Shoot.
Do.
We just did a real live example of that accidentally. That was great. Okay, so masculine, feminine energy, and in general, one up, one down. Like you're always trying to one up somebody, right? You're like, oh, I can say it better, I can do it better, I know it better, right? In terms of presence, and in the beginning of this, I said, in terms of introvert, extrovert, right? So one up, one down. Rabbi, I was like, no, he's going to take the more extroverted. I'm going to be the more introverted one today, right? So that's how this presentation started. Through midway, we, balanced it out, and now we just did this role play here, and he said, no, you take it, okay? Now I just one-upped. One-upped is I'm taking the lead, okay? What's taking the lead? It's a masculine energy taking the lead. Women tend, naturally, by nature, okay? I'm not saying whether we do it today, but in general, feminine nature is to make themselves a little bit to be like the moon and not like the sun. To be a reflection of what's in front of us instead of to be the sun. Okay? But we work really hard today to be the sun, because if we don't, we're not going to get the job, and we're not going to shine, it's not going to be amazing, we have to work really hard, we have to prove ourselves, we have to be women, right? Women without the W-O, just we have to be men. We have to be men to live in this world, but we don't. So you have to decide when you need to be the sun and when you need to be the moon. And that's kind of this one up, one down thing. And this was a role play of that. Now I just took that more masculine role. I took control, I took charge, I'm just going to say something, right? But I can also step back, and you saw me also standing over here on the side, okay? That was a one down. That I intentionally stood over here. I intentionally did that. He could take the stage, he could be in front, and I don't need to be... One up would be like I'm standing here the whole time he's talking, I'm here, maybe even I'm in front of him, I'm having, like, he's talking and I'm like, trying to get the attention, I'm trying to control the room while not letting him be the sun, not letting him shine. That was his moment. I don't need that. What's the difference? I can stand over here, I can do my thing, I can stand out of the way.
Women will naturally one down, generalizing again. Women will naturally one down, men will naturally one up. And so we have to check ourselves.
We've one-upped a lot.
Yeah.
We've learned to one-up, and we have to put that back in check.
I actually heard that. That was one of my favorite things that I heard. You know the lion fence thing?
Yes.
So yeah, let's hear about it.
Yes.
It's very beautiful.
So if you have that link, you could send it around.
Yeah, send it.
Next question. Are there some core things we are supposed to be looking for in someone? What are they?
Yeah, well, a lot of people are going to tell you yes, and I'm going to tell you my Aleeza answer. I have a different answer. You should also listen to the other people, okay? I'm going to give you something different, but you should also listen to the other people. I have a whole system for soulmate clarity and knowing if this is your person. And personally, what I like to do is I like to let you tell me what the values are, what you want, what matters to you, what's important to you. If I start to give you a list of criteria, and we tried to do this, we actually played with this and pretended like Aleeza's rules didn't work. And we pulled out family and community and religion and what else was on this list?
Personality.
We had like that top 11,
Yes.
10, 11 things.
Yes.
So we pulled
Leisure
out
activities.
Right. We pulled out all these top 10, 11 things that really needed to work, and like, can we put everybody in a box? Can we like make a system that like you have to have hit something in every one of these categories? And we tried to do it, and to me it broke the system and it doesn't work. And the reason is because we are unique. And you can't have AI, artificial intelligence, and somebody else telling you, you have to value these things. These are really important. When you come to me and you tell me what's important to you, okay? So if I tell you, I'm going to make it up, religion is important. For everybody across the board, religion is important. We have to deal with religion. And somebody goes, I don't really care about religion. It's just not my thing. I've got a bunch of other things on my list. I'm like, no, you have to put a comment in that box. We got to know how you feel about this. They're like it's not on my list. It doesn't even make it to my list. Then it's not important. Then it doesn't need to be there. And it's important that we let you put the things that are there that are really important. So we need to know values-wise, personality, what do you want in life? What do you think is important? What have you looked around and seen? And you need to do your research. You need to see what, if you just came up with, if I said to you, your homework is come up with 10 things that are really important in every relationship to everybody that's in a relationship, I bet you could come up with a nice list. And you could use that list to inform your own personal list. But you might have other nuanced things that are important to you that aren't going to be universally important. In general, yes, family, religion, community, like all of these things are going to be important. But in a life partner, you might choose to value things differently. So I need everybody to come up with their own list, which means you have lots of homework to do, which means you have to do lots of reading and watching things and being in classes and learning so that you know where you stand with your values.
Okay. Ready for this one? Why do shadchans? I'm so sad even reading it, but I will read it because we answer all questions. We really do. Why do shadchans offer unattractive or very old men as a match for me?
They also get shidduchs. No, that's not really what they're asking. The root of what they're asking is, but I'm attractive, so why aren't they matching like with like? And the answer is because A, either they're not a good shadchan, B, they don't really have anything else. They're like, that's the closest thing I could figure out. C, they don't really know you. D, they don't really know the guys. E, they don't actually have an attractive meter like yours. So some people actually would look at those guys and be like, what do you mean? There's nothing wrong with them. They're fine. And you're going,
Maybe
no.
their baseline is noses.
Right. So they might have a very, very low bar for a baseline. I'll just say this, it's not about you personally. It has nothing to do with you and everything to do with either what they think and believe about people in the world or what they just happen to have available, and so they're just trying to be kind and send something. Just say thank you, no thank you. I'm busy.
Or you can say that
I'm not available.
it's not a bad idea that sometimes if you're going to do shit up dating, to say to the shadchan, if you don't have a good idea for me, you don't have to send it. I'm not going to feel bad. I'd rather fewer good ideas than many not good. Or some of you may say, I just want names. Just send me names.
Some people tell me all the time, they're like, no, I want to say no. So just send me whatever.
Yeah.
But also with the age, you can just say, I'm comfortable with an age bracket as such. Now it's going to limit you, just like height is going to limit you, but age is going to limit you as well.
Can you have multiple shadchans, like at the same time?
Yeah.
Every non-negotiable needs to have associated many negotiables with it. Okay. What happens when you meet someone with the same values, but his values change completely in the future? What do you do then,
Well,
Aleeza?
if you marry him, you're stuck or you get divorced. So you have to be able to shift and understand. I like that people date long enough, and I like that people are far enough along in the process of, let's call it religious beliefs, because that's probably the biggest differentiating factor of today. that you're far enough along that you've got a baseline that is pretty solid. Like my baseline when I became frum was like Shomer Shabbat, kosher, modesty, and I'm gonna daven. Those were my top 4. Those were the first 4 things I took on, and I'm like, that's my baseline. Anything else I do is gravy, but that is like where I'm holding.
Can we say a shocking statement? Tell me if you agree with this.
I don't know.
Say it.
Where you're headed is more important than where you're from.
Right, that's what we say all along. But where you are is more valuable data than where you're headed. It's not valuable to me where you're headed if where you are isn't showing already progress in that direction.
Which means if you haven't taken the action steps.
Like that guy who like wasn't keeping Shabbat and he's like, I'm gonna do that when I get married. I don't really care, you're probably not. I told him that. I said, you're probably not. He's like, no, but I really will. I said, you would already be doing it now if you really wanted that in your life. You would have already integrated it. No, I'm going to do it. And then he did.
Or he may, but it's just not a baseline.
Correct. And baseline is really important of where somebody is today.
Right. Okay. Is it better to marry someone of the same cultural background or different cultures equals different mindset?
Different cultures equal different mindset. Is it better? It's easier if there's more similarities. Always, 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 always easier with more similarities. Do people marry people with different backgrounds? Yes. Do they like it? Yes. Do some people, you have to have one side that's willing to kind of like marry into that family, or 2 sides that are both willing to conform to the others. Usually you have one side that's willing to be more like the other family, and the other side that's like, I am who I am. So
similarities attract. Attraction is similarity, not differences.
Yeah, I think we have to coin that because people don't, opposites attract, but we're coining that similarities attract. You're going to see, it's going to be a new quote. It'll be his.
Yours.
Do you think it's bad if a girl who's Sephardi wants to just date Sephardi?
Not bad. You know why? Because that's what the girl wants.
Well, it makes
Whatever
sense.
that person wants is good.
People are going to present other things, and I tell you to do like this. I would do what I would call passive Ashkenazi dating, which means I date Sfardis. That's what I do. I date Sfardis. I ask for Sfardis. I go to Matchmakers. I tell them, and then somebody presents you with an Ashkenazi, and I would tell you, look at it and evaluate it. If they look like an extraordinary human that you're like, whoa, never expected to like anything like that, you could go out on a date if you are like over the moon impressed. Other than that, date what makes sense to you.
Maybe someone who only wants to date Sfardis can date Muggles.
Because it's so much harder for a girl to, like, I don't know, like, to turn Ashkenazi. like, you go by the man, like...
You follow his minhagim.
That's why it's harder.
Yeah, and then no rice on Pesach.
Exactly.
Who wants to give that up?
I like only want, this is just like, I just no rice on pizza. I want rice on pizza.
Sorry. Okay, we have a few minutes.
There's a lot more, and we are. These are really important.
No, you have 5 minutes.
Yeah, but I want to hear like some people.
If we want to stay, can we stay?
We have gotten to this a lot, which means that people are getting defensive, and it means
No,
that they're
they're
also getting
thinking,
tired.
and they're cold. It's a little chilly. It got
It's a little
chilly.
cold in here. It's a good, yeah.
It's super cold.
Chile is in South America, but yes. Okay.
Like if you guys don't have anywhere to be, a lot of us would stay, I think.
Okay, so let's just take I now know that. Let's just take a little bit of a mix.
We'll do. I now know that. I'm going to take a bathroom break. Anybody wants to leave can leave, and then anybody wants to
If
stay.
you want,
will
I
stay.
will. Fine, we will finish this. Good. I now know that. Give me some I now know. Yes.
I now know that I'm opening my mind to just be like easier about it rather than tense up about all of the dating.
We can go home now. We're good. We have been successful. Yes.
I now know that it's okay for me to be attracted to something that I'm used to, like the similarities. Like I'm Timani, so I always feel like, oh, I should, be open to everything because I don't know where my judgment's gonna come from. But like, it makes sense. So.
Passively be open to everything if it should come to you, but actively look for what you want.
I now know that.
I thought that if I want to date religiously, I have to go by like the 3, 4, 5 dates, whatever framework. But now I know that I could be gender on myself and let myself date a person for longer.
By the way, please do that.
Please.
Please. And if anybody gives you a hard time, tell them to call me. I'm not
Or
just
me.
be like, Aleeza's my.
Or me. I'll just send my mafia guys out there. Anyone else? I now know that.
It's important to practice putting into play like the feminine energy and just letting other people take control and not like it doesn't always have to be you. Like there's other factors And sometimes you just have to take a step back, and that's
And
actually
there's-
going to put you forward.
And that's the key, that it actually puts you forward, that it actually is the empowerment because you put yourself, I stood
Right.
there, I put myself there, he didn't put me there, I took control of the situation and maneuvered.
I know. Yeah. I
actually-
now know that. Anyone else? Yeah.
If your values don't align, it's an automatic no.
Your values don't align, it's an automatic no. I think we can go home. This has been great.
They're not gonna let us leave. They're gonna suck more information.
Yes, I now know that.
Well, I already heard this, but the reminder of the woman sets the tone for them all in terms of like dating terms.
Yeah, I thought it was the man had to be further along, not the woman. Because
Yeah.
like he's like this baby build, like who knows if he's gonna like pick himself up and like, move himself.
Guys
forward.
do insane things for women.
They
Just telling
usually
you.
follow along unless they're, very, very strong and oppositional, but they usually will follow the tone that you set and the pace that you set.
I feel like on behalf of the male race, I can say that. Don't worry about it. Wherever you are, they will follow.
We were talking about that today in class, how women are very influential. That behind every bad man is usually a worse woman, and every good man is
Correct.
an amazing woman.
I would highly agree with that.
Correct.
We're the backbone.
That's it.
It's kind of a question, but does that mean that like when dating, we should be more open to dating guys who are less religious than us than looking for guys who are more religious than us?
That is a specific question that I would recommend coaching for, because not that for you, but in that situation, if there's certain nuances, there's personality differences, there's values, there's a lot of picture there that needs to be looked at, and I wouldn't generalize that.
It also depends where you want to land, like how quickly you're heading in the trajectory that you're going, and how quickly you're going to catch up or be wherever they are potentially or beyond.
Okay, for those of you who want to go, you have permission to leave. If you want to stay, you have permission to stay. We will finish these questions. Okay, well, okay, if you need to go,
Rabbi, take a drink.
okay, I will take a drink. What if I Okay.
Take a test.
Okay, good. Can we go on? For those of you who are here, I'll continue answering because I don't want to, and by the way, don't forget to take a selfie with the world-renowned Aleeza Shalom because she's available for selfies. I highly encourage it, we recommend it, and you'll let me know why at one point.
I was so confused. What?
Just. IYKYK. Yes.
If you know, you know.
I don't know.
I just wanted to know on top of like the stuff that you guys do like coaching and
Yeah.
matchmaking.
Yes, and yes, and yes.
And you're
yes.
based in
This is-
Montreal.
I'm based in Montreal, yes.
So, well, I'm from Toronto, so.
Yes, and we have actually Aleeza and I don't know, when are you going back? I don't know when you're going back, but we are doing a North American tour.
Okay.
Through April, at the end we're going to be here in April, and then we're going to do a North American tour in May and June. And so we're doing a Toronto event. We're doing one in Niagara at the end of May.
Toronto and Niagara are different.
I know, but there's an organization that's bringing us out that's doing a Shabbaton Niagara. And we have a lot of other events. We're doing New York, we're doing Philadelphia.
What do you go to
Miami.
I don't know, we have a whole schedule itinerary of.
If you go to Miami, you're gonna a lot of people.
Miami. I was just in Miami. I just didn't know. I was in Miami 2 weeks ago. We have a podcast, both of us together. It's called Matchmaker. And
How to date in Brooklyn.
How do you date in Brooklyn?
how you date in Brooklyn? Because everyone's soaring you. Because everyone's soaring you. Okay.
How do you overcome the traumas of
By the way, dating in the place which is the Jewish version of Friends. Yes. Big problems.
I'll market it.
See, one of the great things is that as a man in this world, I can just beat the guys up. You see these guys walking to events and they're like, "Hi," looking at everybody else. Come on. There's always somebody better. Come on. I got a lot of things to say, and it's not happy birthday. Okay. What happens when you've been dating the wrong Jewish guys and date someone who isn't Jewish, but it felt better than any Jew you've dated in the past, if you've broken up with them and you're taking the time to work on yourself, how do you pick the right Jewish guy for you, someone who has the same values? This question needs a coach. This is a good question. This is an individual question that needs a coach. See, sometimes you have questions, and there were other questions here that needed coaches, but obviously we were generalizing. If you hear me say, or Aleeza say, we're generalizing, it means this question needs a coach. So I can give you a general answer, which I'm not, because I already answered the whole thing with the Jews versus non-Jews. But this is something that is really important. It needs really good support. And I don't mean coach. It can be a rabbi or a teacher here, somebody who you can speak to who will give you an honest...
What's the question again?
The question is, if the person... there's two things that come out of this question for me. If you've dated someone not Jewish and that's what you're attracted to, and you don't want to be attracted to that, or you have somebody in your life and they just don't meet your values. Like what happens is, Aleeza always says, the longest distance is between the heart and the mind. So you're attracted to one thing, but you want something else. That's very complicated. You got it. Neve is a great place to get your heart and mind aligned. And so I think that's something that you have to really work on if that's something that's important to you. Okay. How do you know that you're ready to date? We're never ready. No one's ever really ready.
Wait, what's the question?
How do you know you're ready to date? No one's ever really ready. You just have to take the plunge, and that's part of vulnerability. You take the plunge and you see how it goes, and you may hit it the first time, and you may take you a few more. That's just the reality. Okay, Sarah. Okay. Opposites attract, the norm or a myth. I think we've already gone through that. We think it's a myth because men and women by nature are opposites. Similarities attract. Okay, moving right along. I value a lot of things. I'm very proud of you. Everything you value is fantastic. How do I know what's my core value to know what's enough to continue to go out with him and I see the dirty laundry, quote unquote? Yes. If you see the dirty laundry, it means I like you, number one, to look at the clean laundry. Also, right? Remember we said about also? Also look at the clean laundry, not only the dirty laundry. And look at him for a friend, and it's going to cause you to ask better questions. And I encourage you to email one of us and get our single soulmate clarity and go through that, because it's going to give you a very great definition of what you're looking for, and you'll have your values aligned. Happy birthday. Yeah.
Sorry, this is just in regards to opposite attract. Can you define what you mean by opposite? Like people.
So what we're looking for.
Decisive and indecisive?
What we're looking for, I don't know what opposites are. I just hear this all the time, opposites attract, and I think it's somebody made it up in some rom-com, and I don't even know what it's about. But what we're looking for is our complements, not our opposites. We're looking for someone who's going to complement us, because we believe that we are two halves of a single whole.
So it doesn't matter what opposite means?
It doesn't matter what opposite means. Okay. What matters is what it means to you. If you think it's opposite, it's not good. If you think it's complementary, it's good. But thank you for clarifying that. Okay, how do I balance being shomer negia with leaning towards physical touch, hug and holding as a love language? It's a really, really important thing. So somebody just made a baseline question there of love languages. For those of you who don't know Gary Chapman's work, I encourage you to look it up, the 5 love languages, because often people will love their person the way they want to be loved instead of the way the person wants to be loved. So you want to learn how your person wants to be loved, and then you want to teach your person how you want to be loved. If someone has their primary love language being physical touch, and you're shomer negia, you need a coach. You need someone who will help you navigate that. If you're female, I hope that it's female, because, and maybe Aleeza will answer that question in another way.
Coffee? I didn't bring coffee. I brought oatmeal.
Oatmeal was great. Oatmeal was good for all things, including horses. Okay. Aleeza, you ready for this question?
Hold on. Everybody's going to be my bracha. I'm big into brachas and I'm big into amens.
Amen.
Okay. You ready, Aleeza, for this?
Mm-hmm.
How do I balance being shomer negia with leaning towards physical touch as a love language.
It's a rough one.
Oh yeah.
Get married fast. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's be real. Yeah. I don't know how you balance that.
You need a coach. You need someone to guide you through the process because things are gonna come up in the
No, but
dating.
I read that question and it threw in there something about like hand holding and hugging and so I want to address that. Hold on, I want to see which chair is higher. You're gonna sit in a chair.
Do I have to sit?
No, I'm gonna sit though. What was the after party? You sit in
Oh
an
yeah.
after
Oh
party.
okay. The after party.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry.
We're sitting. It's
This is the
for
after
the
party.
environment. It's the after party, but the
Okay,
party.
as long as people aren't like going like this anymore, I'm happy.
No, cold. It's just this is a ladies' thing. They're cold. They're all
Okay,
cold.
fine. I'm good.
If I'm one of them, like,
Okay.
No,
good.
they're just cold. See the heater? It just hits those three people. They won't sit like that. Everybody else will. So
Okay.
wants to swap. I will.
I now know that.
yeah.
Good.
So this question also said something about like what about like hand holding or hugging or like we can take it to a certain level, but not that. So I'm gonna. Are we still on recordings? Are we all recording? Are
We're
we,
still,
this is
I
like the
think
after,
somebody must still be recording.
do we want an after party with no recording so we can tell you
Yes,
everything?
yes.
So pick up all your phones
Can you
and.
go back to that question that you?
But wait, you
said
gotta
needed
stop
to-
recording with
I
all
don't,
the
I don't have
phones.
record.
And the other one?
This is Rabbi's phone.
Oh, leave it. It's fine. So,
You can just pass it.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
is that it? We're good?
No, we have two more that are recording.
Guys, it's illegal if you keep recording.
Well, it's just yeah.
It just might speak to you straight, or is it going to be heard by 47 other people that didn't hear the full lecture? That's going to hear one sentence out of context and be like, oh!
And then they're going to cancel us
But if it's
completely.
not in context, it doesn't make sense. So, I'm going to tell you real stories. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what other people have done. There are people that will hold to Shomer Negiah, and that's it, and that's what they'll do. And it's very difficult. There's people that will make up their own rules about Shomer Negiah, okay? So their own rules might be like, well, we can hold hands and we can snuggle and we can kiss, but we're not going to do anything else. And then there's other people that make other lines. We can do everything but that thing. We're not going to do that thing. And people start to create their own rules and they make up their own things. If you're a physical touch person, by the definition of this question, you're not going to be able to hold yourself back because that's your language. And because that's your love language, it speaks to you so much that you're really not going to be able to withhold. And whatever boundary you set, you will break. Okay? It's very important. If you're going to make up your own rules, you have to hold to them, period. You're not allowed to break them. So if you don't want to break it, but you think you're going to break it, don't make the rule. Once you break the rule, and I've heard this from the men, and I've heard this multiple times. This one guy specifically said to me, look, I can't really hold to it, so, I'm not going to hold by Shomer Negiah. I said, okay. He's like, but I like that the women hold to it. I said, you do? He goes, yeah, they hold me to a higher standard. I said, but what happens if they, break? And he's like, then I'm not going to marry them. I said, I'm sorry, wait, let me, no, not a narcissist. Let me take this back a step. You're not going to marry them if they break, Shomer Negiah, but you're going to I'm not going to say unintentionally tempt them or try. You're going to make an effort to try because why? Because that's your love language and because that's how you connect. And if they actually agree because they think that you need that, so they're going to do that for you, then they are automatically off your list. He goes, yep, because they'll never make me a better person. Because not about me, if they can't hold to their own values, they'll never hold me to a higher standard, to my best values also. Okay, this is from a client that I worked with. This is not my story. This is not made up. This is for real. And every person that went out with him, who told me, because all the women told me, well, that's what they need. If you don't break Shomer Negiah, Aleeza, you're never going to get married. Because they all want it. I said, actually, the opposite is true. Because if you actually do break it, he's probably never going to marry you if he wants it to be held to a higher standard. Now, not all men and not all thinking is like this.
On behalf of many of my male clients, I concur.
Okay. And it's not universal. Some of them really, they will just hold to a middle of the road, hugging, kissing, snuggling, and that's where they're holding, and that's enough for them. But many of them feel this way. And that's the real truth of it. And anybody who thinks, well, I have to give in physically because I'll never get somebody if I don't, as a woman, I'm telling you, you're wrong. You're more appealing if you don't give in. You have more power if you don't give in. You have more control if you don't give in. And what if he doesn't like you? And what if he doesn't come back for another date? He never liked you anyway. He was never going to marry you anyway. What does it matter? It doesn't matter. Your giving in didn't fix the problem. It actually made a new problem for you. So if somebody needs to have a certain boundary or needs to not hold by Shomer Negiah because they need to have their rules that make sense for them, whatever rule you make, do not break. If you don't break it, at least you hold to your values. He knows what your values are. You said, I won't do anything other than this. Whatever this is, that's really your value. And you don't negotiate it and you don't change it, even when you change your mind, even when you're in the moment, even when everything's really tempting and you can't resist, you better figure out what your real boundary is, because they will not respect you because you don't respect yourself. Has nothing to do with them respecting you, has everything to do with you set a boundary that you broke. And now, I don't know if I can trust you because you can't even trust yourself.
In the words of the great, late Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, people respect people who respect themselves.
Next.
Can you go back to the question, like a couple questions ago that you said you needed a coach for?
No, I think I answered. The one you need a coach for.
Which one?
I don't remember.
Being attracted to non-Jews when the Jews.
No, that one I answered. I think I answered it.
No, which one? Which one?
That was what I was talking about.
Yeah. I think. Oh, do you have a clarifying question on that?
Yeah, I'm just a little confused. Like, when you have bad experiences with Jewish guys in the past, how do you
Or past those traumas.
not even trauma, like, yes, trauma, I guess, for some people, but I'm saying, like, how do you go forward and, like, finding Jewish guys that
I guess
You connect with on the same level that you connect
You
with
still-
someone Jew with.
you still think dating coach?
you may attract similar, but I think you may attract different.
Well, also, you're
I
going
don't
from
understand.
secular dating to religious dating.
Right.
You're going to get a whole new...
A values-based dating is very different than just seeing a guy or swiping right or left.
Okay. Thank you.
I just want to add about the love languages thing. If you go online and search 5lovelanguages.com, there's a quiz you can take, and then you'll know what you are and your like your future partner, and then you avoid the figuring it out in the process.
We love quizzes. Thank
It's
you.
good. Very
More
good.
quizzes, the better. Okay, take those quizzes.
You have more questions?
By the way, this is not a pay for advertisement, but I don't want to schlep them back. And Aleeza's book, We Go Get Married, is right here for 50
Oh, I didn't
shekel.
tell people.
And you can get it autographed right here. Just, okay. Sorry.
Goes away.
Huh?
Goes away.
Okay, so if I don't feel ready to date and haven't for a while, how do I know when to reach out? You're ready.
If what?
No, you're totally right.
What was the
You're
question?
totally ready.
What was the question?
If I don't feel ready to date and I haven't for a while, how do I know when to reach out? If you're asking the question, you're ready.
Yeah, I was also thinking about.
Maybe.
Why do you think not?
You see what happens when the recording goes off?
I had a client like this, and she was like a perpetual thinker, and so like she really was ready, but I had to like cancel her as a client and say, I love you, but I'm not working with you until you have a date, and I'm not going to talk to you anymore, and you're like done growing. We're good. So for that kind of person, if you're an ultimate thinker and just spin out in your head, then you're ready. But if I don't think I'm ready to date, and I haven't been ready to date, and I still don't know if I'm ready, how do I know if I'm ready? Sometimes people don't have enough data and information. So
This
like
is
I
my
don't
question.
I don't know if I should be looking or if I shouldn't be looking because I'm not clear about who I am and I'm still growing. And there might be other work to be done. So I would say like figure yourself out when you're very, very clear about who you are and what you want in the world. Then you can go into the dating world. And if you're not super clear about who you are and what you want in the world, just get hyper focus on that for 6 weeks or 6 months and then start dating.
That was my question. And I was asking because I've dated over the past year, but like, it's like, it hasn't gone any further because I'm holding at a different level, not necessarily religiously, but just in a self-respect aspect of it. So like, I just like have like ended dates that normally would have turned into relationships.
Because you're doing values-based dating.
Right. Thank God. But
That's going to keep happening.
yeah, but it's like, I've taken, and then now I'm in like a place in my life where I'm like, well, I'm actively like, now I'm not going to date anymore. Like not because.
Actively not dating is fabulous, by the way.
It is
I love that
fabulous.
term.
Because
That's a great
that's
term.
what I did.
Actively not dating.
That's what
Love
I'm.
it.
That's
what I did, and I was actively not dating. And then this guy asked me out, and I was like, no, I'm not dating. He's like, no, I just need your phone number in case I need to call you about something. And I was like, but I'm not dating. And he was like, that's okay. Can I have your phone number?
Is that your husband?
No, it was the first guy before my husband, and I was like, that was really annoying.
But I'm
And I
saying, so
stopped
like
dating-
if
dating him.
if I'm like actively not dating, like I think the first component that the component that you talked about like trying to figure out who you are more
Mhm.
is important. But then like how do you know when you should start dating? If like you kind of put this title of I'm actively not dating, how do you know?
You get
when to
itchy
start?
about it. You get a little like, I'm tired of actively not dating. Like I want to date. Like
Okay.
I've had enough of this.
And
So
then
you
what?
get a little itchy.
And then what do you do?
Then you actively start dating.
Well, like you reach out. Okay.
Whatever your process is going to be, it depends on who you are and where you're at.
Thanks. Thank you so much.
How to get over committed anxiety from shidduch, short-term dating. I feel like I need to date someone for at least a year to feel the conditions and community to them. I don't know, to feel
Sorry, my handwriting's bad.
The confidentness.
something confident in committing to them. Got it. Sorry. Let's try this again. I feel like I need to date someone for at least a year to feel confident in committing to them, but I also want to uphold Shomer Negiah.
6 months. You can do it in 6 months. You don't really need a year. A year is your old baseline, but with values and personality and overall qualities and what you're looking for and going through it in a more straight way. You don't need a year. You'll need 6 months, and you'll feel comfortable towards the end of the 6 months.
Can I share a non-recorded truth bomb? There's no such thing in platonic relationships with guys.
Do we know? That
If
one.
the guy likes you, he's into you. That's it.
Men and women can't be friends. Chapter number 29, page 97.
So what do you do if you have a guy friend that you're like super close with and it's like I love you, you're my rock, you're my this.
He will, if you make a move, he will turn into a romantic relationship.
But that's not
It's
true.
true.
But like we've had so many
It's
conversations
true.
about it.
It's true.
I don't think
Sometimes he's gonna stay most likely.
No, he's not.
if you give him an ultimatum, it's
Because we straight up had a conversation.
Because you put the defense on.
No,
That's
but we had a
why.
conversation. And he's like, if you told me
He's
that you
lying.
were okay, well then what do I do? Just drop
no,
him?
no. If he sorry, finish your sentence.
Okay, because like we've had so many like long talks, and if I have another one of these long talks, I'm gonna lose my mind.
And if you told
We've been
me,
friends for 8 years.
finish the sentence. He said if you told me,
He said if you told me that you were in love with me, I don't know if I could be friends with you anymore. And I was
you
like,
shouldn't be friends.
yeah, we shouldn't. And I've said that literally.
No. Just stop being friends. Stop talking.
That's what I did. Yeah,
Delete him from your phone.
Delete him. We've been friends for 8 years.
Too bad.
But you can't be friends.
He's holding you back.
No, correct. And he
you know
feels
it
a void
yourself.
and a need that you are getting
you
filled
wouldn't
from him
say
that you
that
need
if
from
you
somebody
really
else.
said it yourself when we
I
did
know,
that.
but I don't have feelings for him.
But you do.
Happy birthday. Okay, good.
Somebody's always interested, and if it's not him, it's you.
It's someone. It's gotta be someone.
Somebody's always
I think it's
interested.
both, and that there's this like weird like boundary.
If he's
and I just
saying,
want
if I know that you're interested, I can't be friends with you because I don't want the same thing you want and I don't want to hurt you.
Can we talk
he doesn't.
after also?
I challenge
doesn't
you.
want it.
Cut
You
him
should-
off
you
and
should-
see what happens.
Correct. And wait 6 months, 8 months, a year.
Cut him off completely, like really, like consciously,
Delete from the
completely.
phone or block.
Delete, and see what happens.
Like ignore?
No, ignore or delete.
But is that
Cancel,
mean?
clear.
It's not mean. It's smart.
Amen. Okay,
Can we
so-
talk after about that one? Because it's deeper.
You said that they will turn into a romantic relationship, but I think guys, excuse my language, are more in like an animalistic sexual kind of thing. So like I feel like they'll accept it because
Don't
that's-
touch him.
That's what I'm saying though. You're
That's-
saying about
See if they
you
stick
never
around.
said that if you make a move, like obviously they're gonna accept it. Like that's my thought. No.
Make a move in terms of asking them out on a date. Not make a move in terms of physically doing anything. Ask
But
them
even
out on a
asking
date.
them on a date, they're like I don't know. I think guys are wired differently than women.
Yes.
Generalize.
But
Sometimes.
so then don't.
Also,
You can send a text message back. I've decided I'm not keeping any male friends. If you want to date, message me. If not, all the best. Try it. It works every time. They'll ignore you. They'll go crazy. It'll drive them nuts, and then they'll ask you out in 6 weeks or 6 months. True. No, you can't do that. But the women that do that marry the men. But you can't do that. That's okay. Pick somebody else. And get rid of them anyway, because now you have a male person in your life that's holding you back from meeting your person, because all your energy is going there, and you're thinking, and you're wondering, and what ifing.
That was my point. That's literally what I told him.
No, either way. Thank you. Bye.
Asking for a friend. Okay. On that note, how do we, now that the recording is off, really identify red flags while dating?
So there are red flags, which are like universal red flags. Like if you're on a football field and there's something that happens, they throw a red flag because those are the games and those are the rules. And then there's red flags to you personally. That's a red flag to you. Okay? What are some red flags? You don't need us to tell you.
Anger issues.
Anger management. Addiction. Selfish.
Victim mentality.
Low emotional intelligence. Victim mentality. A child.
Do you know that one Vine?
Yes.
Okay? All of these things. How do you really know a red flag? Those are red flags. How do you really know a red flag? I'm constantly thinking about it and it bothers me, or it doesn't feel right. I don't know why. I can't explain it. It doesn't feel right. Something's off. If you're a thinker, you're going to think it. If you're a feeler, you're going to feel it. Depends who you are. If you're balanced, you're going to think it and you're going to feel it, and you're going to still ask the question, why? I don't know. I'm not sure. I wonder, what if? But if there's something going on, if you feel something, if you think something, say something. Talk it out. Talk it out with yourself. Talk it out with your close mentor, friend, confidant, somebody who you don't want an answer from them. You just want to hear your own thinking. So you just talk it out so you can come to a place of clarity. It's called verbal introspection. Rabbi Aryeh Niven teaches about this, and you talk it out to hear your own thinking. I used to have a chavrusa with somebody. We would get on the phone in the morning. Besides hello, it's your turn. She would talk for 5 minutes about anything. I gave no response. Okay, my 5 minutes is up. Okay, your turn. Talk for 5 minutes. Time was up. Okay, bye. That was the end of the conversation. Verbal introspection. It is a really powerful technique, and especially in dating, you need it. And you have to have a person who can do that for you. I'm not asking for advice. I want to hear my own wisdom. I want to hear my own thinking. I want to come to my own conclusions. But I need somebody to be a sounding board and listen. Sounding board just means just be there to catch the sound. Don't do anything with it. Just listen.
Okay. If everyone has a soulmate, why are there people that are 50 and 60 and 70 years old who haven't found their someone yet?
They might have found their someone, they might have said no. They might have found their someone and their someone said no to them. They might have not found their someone because they ruled them out because their nose was too big or their job was too bad. They might just be a really solo human, which makes it really, really hard for them to get married. And so they kind of blocked all of their entries into getting into a serious long-term relationship. There's a lot of reasons why.
Marriage researchers, Doctors John and Julie Gottman, if you've never heard of them, look them up. They say that if a person by the time of the age of 35 will have dated or met 4 people they could have married.
Age of what?
35. That's not a Jewish idea.
Whether you pick them or you don't pick them, it's your choice.
Financial stability. What's necessary to get your marriage up for success between you and your future partner?
Totally individual.
Yeah.
Some people are happy to live in a shack, and some people are unhappy to live in a mansion. It doesn't work for them. So
I meant more in terms of like career path, having an education under your belt already, having...
What's more important, I'll tell you, is their drive.
Right.
Your degree, I don't care about as much. It's your passion and your drive for anything that you want to do in life. Not just job, but anything. Are they a passionate human that is driven and going to accomplish, or are they just passive? If they have a fabulous degree and they're totally passive, they're never going to earn a good living anyway. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what they are. They're really not going to earn a good living because there's no drive there.
And is that vice versa as well when he's looking at you to see that there's a drive versus, like, let's say my degree is in political science. I'm a makeup artist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right. I think drive matters so much more than any credentials.
Okay.
Credentials means you're qualified, that you have an education in this area.
So you can
How many
have
people
an-
got a degree and didn't
What's
use their
the-
degree? You're
Right.
poli-sci and you're doing makeup. You didn't even use your degree.
4 years.
Right?
I hated
But
it,
you
so I
learned-
switched out.
And you learned something from it, and it was
Sure,
for
I
the
did.
time, and, but you're not using it. But you have a drive, and you're doing something with that drive, and you're like heading in a direction, which is great.
Right.
So that's what I care about more. A lot of people modern day will tell you they care more about a degree, an education, or a balance of the two. I need a drive and I need an education to go behind it, because if you don't have that, I don't believe in my circles that you could do anything. It's personal preference.
The researchers at the Rutgers Relationship Institute, they say curiosity is the number one ingredient in a long-lasting and healthy relationship.
So drive, curiosity, passion, those things fuel also jobs as well as relationships.
Thank you.
Which is adding on to this, is it too materialistic to want a man who can match your standard of lifestyle?
No, go for it. No.
It's not, if you want someone.
Is it too materialistic to want somebody to match your standard of lifestyle? So if you have a high standard, if you came from a very wealthy family and
Or you yourself built up.
you
You're
built
saying
yourself
it's
up,
not?
or you go for it. Not too high.
You'll find out.
That's what you want. Go for it. If that's important to you, if that's a value to you, if that makes sense to you, if you desire that, you're probably going to be pretty unhappy living at a very low standard. Now, how does it have to be exactly matching? Can it be slightly below? What if it's slightly above? I've had people who, let's say in very, very wealthy circles, millionaires, billionaires circles, and had people that we wanted to set up with them, and they're like, no, I don't want somebody that wealthy. I'm like, what? And they're like, no, it's a whole new set of problems. I don't want to deal with that. I just want like an average Joe with a good living. We can pay our bills. We can go on our family vacation once a year. That's too much. That's out of my league. I don't know how to handle that. So it works in both directions. Whatever you want that makes sense for you is okay. You'll probably be very unhappy with something that's a dramatic difference from where you're holding, unless you desire to be something else. Okay? So I'll give you my own personal example. I grew up, middle class, like middle upper, I don't know. We grew up like we had enough, we got by, figured it out. My parents were both entrepreneurs. My mom was a teacher. She opened her own school. My dad had his own business, and everybody had those things. And when I went to look for a partner, I don't personally care about degrees. I care more, like I spoke about, more about passion, more about drive, more about who somebody is in life. And I really wanted more of somebody who would be religiously matched to me and live a lifestyle. I cared more about lifestyle than about quality and level of life based on a financial thing. So I didn't look for somebody that, had a certain financial blueprint or background or any of those things. I met my husband. He was between jobs. He had a degree in design. He was a mashgiach at the time, and then he transitioned out of that. He was going to start opening a restaurant. We met, he realized, wow, I get to pick one. I either get to have a wife or a restaurant, because if I have a restaurant, it's not in line with my family values. And if I start a restaurant, I'm going to lose my family, and I think I just found my wife, and I'd like to keep her and build a family. I can't do that. So he gave up this big dream of owning a restaurant because it didn't make sense for the type of lifestyle that he wanted to live, and now I was dating a guy without a job. Now, when people ask me, what does he do? I don't even know what I answered. I don't know if I said he was a mashgiach, or he has a degree in design. I don't know what I answered, because he didn't have a job when we were dating, and he didn't have a job by the time we got married. And what we decided was he had a degree in design, and he went into the family business that we have, which is blinds and draperies and shades and all of those things. And we started a business together and helped him go into that. And that's what he ended up doing for the last, 18 years when we were in America. And he just, by the way, now gave that up to come and to make Aliyah 2 years ago. And I said, I'm going to do my thing. And I think I can earn the parnasa now. Your business we can't sustain, we can't keep. It didn't work out. And he just gave up his business. And he is, more like Mr. Mom and taking care of the kids. And he said, what, if I don't take care of them and enjoy them now, I'm never going to get that. Like, you've been doing that for the last almost 20 years. And if I don't get to see, we have 5 kids, if I don't get to help raise the little guys, I'm going to totally miss out on that. You go do your thing. And if you can support us for now, great. And then if I, I'll have time, I'll figure something out and, whatever, we'll take it from there. But I wanted something different, and I knew that we might have to live month to month, and that was my choice, and I made that decision. So you have to be very conscious about it, that if you're not going to get what you have to be okay with understanding fully what the other bucket looks like.
And what I take from that as well is that the narrative and the realistic narrative will change over time, right? You can have different times. So over the course of your marriage, you've had different situations.
He's been working, yeah, if we talk about work, he's been working 100% of the time, and I was, fiddling around doing things in the beginning of our marriage, then I had kids and nothing, like a little nothing. He was still working 100% of the time. Somewhere after a bunch of kids, probably halfway into the marriage, 10 years in, so we kind of he was working 75% and I was working 25%, and he would help out more at home. And then in the last 3 to 4 years, we kind of went to 50-50. He had a hip problem. He had to have a hip replacement. He anyway was out of work. Then it was Corona. He was out of work even more. So my business started to take over. And then we flipped 75-25. I started working more, and then we decided to make Aliyah, and we did a whole switch. And that happened over 20 years. And it's a very different vibe to have a man at home, but he's happy that he has the opportunity to be with his kids, to not be the one that has to, run out in the morning and come home late at night. Like, he's making the dinners and he's making the lunches and he's doing the carpools, and he gets to see them and he gets to hang out, and we pull one of the kids out once a week and he goes on a date day with the kids and he takes them and he does an activity. He wouldn't be able to do that if he was working full time. And I don't know that we'd be able to make it here with, he doesn't speak Hebrew. My Hebrew is very average, and we're not going to be able to integrate. So the only way that we could make it here was by me coming with a business that was already functional. So it's something that happened to work for us, but it was a very big flip over the course of 20 years. But I was okay with that blueprint. To me, I was like, yeah, I'd much rather that than go for somebody who is financially stable. We never have to worry about the bills and and that's not a problem. I wanted the right person. If he happened to have been okay and that was his position, fine, it would have also worked. But I didn't need only that, because I had a different way that made sense to me. This is really the inside. You're hearing real stories.
My commitment to Yiddishkeit changed based on my trauma in Shidduchim. How do I get over the hopeless feeling and recommit?
So basically, there's a lack of commitment to Yiddishkeit because of a shidduch trauma. Yeah. So I think in shidduchim we have to separate out what's shidduch related and what's Jewish related, and
what's personal.
And also what my values are. I would say if you hopped out of Judaism that quickly based on a shidduch situation, were you really committed to your Judaism, or is this your natural baseline? Are you hopping out of Judaism and your natural baseline is where you're at right now? That's actually a good place for you. The shidduch prompted that, but is that a good place for you? Or, I don't know. I don't know what the shidduch trauma is. Shidduch traumas can be actually pretty serious.
Absolutely.
So, or did it
I think this
or
is a
did
good
it make
example.
me so afraid of dating in the shidduch world that I just said, I'd rather be more in the secular world because the shidduch world scares me?
Right. And this is a good example. You need support. You need individual support.
That one needs a lot of attention and the right type of people to give guidance.
How do you pick up on an emotional unavailability?
Yeah, like that. They're just not going to talk to you. There's just going to be silence. They're not going to emotionally connect. They'll tell you data. They'll tell you information. They'll tell you statistics. They will make conversation, and they will talk at you but not with you. Right?
What's an example of that? If I'm oh my God, I had such a bad day. Yeah.
Sure.
I hope nobody understands that. That's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what happened to me in my day? You know what I did? They're just gonna they might just totally change the subject. They might not be able to handle it.
Narcissists.
They ignore it. They just shift.
You know what the worst thing you do in a
away.
shiva? Is to tell everybody about your shiva experience. Heaven forbid, but hello, you're there to support someone. That's what you're there.
If you're not feeling supported. If you share something and they can't hold the weight of what you shared, there's something going on. And you have to experience it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. You have to test. You have to give people the opportunity to handle your stuff.
Yeah, we didn't do any role playing today.
No.
Yeah.
We got heavy. We got heavy here.
That's a follow-up question. How can you tell when that's a result of emotional unavailability, as the phrase, or if it's
either a gender difference or personality difference. Maybe they're just a less expressive person. It's not that they're not with you, it's that they're not like necessarily giving you the reaction that you want or expecting.
People who are emotionally available don't have to necessarily be extroverts. Introverts can also be emotionally available because they're good listeners, they're doing active listening, they're
Like this, they're gonna shake their head, yes, mm-hmm. They
Yeah,
might
I
not have
think-
the right words to say, but they'll still be showing you in some way, physically or verbally or non-verbally, that they're in that moment with you.
You just might need to get used to it and just realize that's what you're looking at.
Right.
That's the key. You have to get used to what their language is and how they're communicating that emotional availability.
and you're looking
And it
for-
might not be at a level that you appreciate. You have to come to appreciate and be like, oh, okay, that's their vibe. Okay, let me get in the, okay, do I appreciate it? Yeah. Do I want it? No. You know, do I want it for the rest of my life? No. Oh, no, I could get used to this.
And
Depends.
You're really looking for your person, so if it doesn't work for you, it's good, it's okay. There's someone else.
It's clarity.
Is it our job during dating to recognize someone leading us on?
Leading us on, meaning that there's really no purpose in,
I don't know, maybe they're being, I'm just guessing, maybe they're being disingenuous. Maybe they are...
they might not know. I give people the benefit of the doubt that most people don't know. They're like trying things on for size. They want to see if it works. They want to see if it fits. They're in it until they're not in it. I had one guy and he was kind of neutral and he went out with this girl and he was kind of neutral and then they ended up breaking up. So they ended up breaking up and they went out like twice and that was it. And then of course 3 years later they were both still single and they start dating again and they were kind of neutral and he went out again and I'm like, if you're going out 5 times. You're not going to break up. You're not going to say no until after the 5th time. I call it the 5-date challenge. You're going to go out 5 times. He's like, but she's gonna, oh, did we put it up there? Oh, when did you put that up there?
Just time stuff.
Oh, stop. You put that up there when? We didn't even mention it.
I know.
It's weird. When did he put that up there?
Like an hour.
A long
About
time.
what? We didn't talk about it.
I've been
like,
waiting
how
to
long
like
to
find
date
out what it means.
I know,
You
that's-
just put it up there?
I know.
It was when
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. What?
how long? Like 3 days, 10 days.
Okay, fine. Thank you. We have a point of reference. Phew. Okay, I'm less freaked out now. Okay, so the 5-date, this is one part of the 5-date challenge, which is just commit to going out 5 times. I said yes to you. Great, I'm just going to keep saying yes. Do I like you? I don't know. Does it matter? I don't know. Just yes, I'll go out again. Do you want to go out again? Do I want to go out? Yes, I will go out. Do I want to? I don't care if you want to. Yes, I'm going to go out. If it's not an absolute no, if it's not an absolute deal breaker, yes, I'm going to keep going out because I want to give myself time to catch up. I'm losing the question. Go back for a minute. I'm going to go on a tangent. Just quick, give me the question back.
The cutoff.
In the jungle, the mighty jungle.
Yes.
The
I
lion
pick up
sleeping
on
tonight.
No,
Okay. How do you
Oh,
recognize...
leading us on. Okay, so this guy thank you. I have points and then I forget the question. So this guy goes out with this girl now the second time. Now I tell him, you're going out, you're doing the 5-date challenge. This is it or don't date her. He's like, fine, I'm in. There's another shadchan involved who's coaching the girl, right? He goes out and he makes a real effort. I said, you can't just go out 5 times. Be into it, make an effort, try, see. Personality was like good. There was a good vibe. There was a good chemistry, fine. Values, it was good. The looks was kind of for him like not exactly in place. And I was like, 5 dates. If it's good on the inside, let's see what's going to grow on the outside, okay? He goes out with her 5 times. And after 5 times, he's like, Aleeza, it's not shifting for me. It's not shifting enough that this is really going to be able to work. I said, okay, are you 100% sure? Like you're never dating her again? This is not your person. He said, yeah. Now that I went out with her 5 times, I have enough information. He broke up. I got an insane call from the shadchan who is furious with me. How could you advise him? How could you tell him to go out with her 5 times if he didn't like her? I said, he didn't know if he liked her. Would you rather him say no after 1 date? He really gave her a chance and he did like her. In the end, it just didn't work. He couldn't get over it. It was a looks thing. It didn't shift enough. And guess what? He really tried. Would you rather that the men don't really try and they just ditch everybody after a first date? Is that a better system? I told him to really try. And for people like that, by the way, a large percentage actually flip. They actually do flip. So it's not like 10% really it's going to work out in the end. A nice, decent percentage, 40% actually flip. And after 5 dates, they're like, wow, I totally I mean, it's not what I thought it was. She looks different to me, which is why I have a bunch of men that tell me I won't take the 5-date challenge because it's going to change. She's going to grow on me. I'm not going to mind it so much. And I don't want to like what I didn't originally like.
Ew.
Yeah.
Don't
I
change
didn't
my opinion.
originally like it, so I don't want to come to like what I didn't originally like. And I know that's going to happen to me. And my answer is, you're right. You're absolutely right. You're right. Sometimes they are just going to grow on you because your initial eyes and your judgment didn't have anything to back it up. You didn't have the personality. You didn't have the flavor. You didn't have the values. You didn't have the essence of who the human was. You just had a face, and the face was neutral to you. It wasn't like your look, and you're married to your look. But when you like everything on the inside, the outside becomes sweeter for a lot of people. Easier for women to see that and do that, more so than men. But I've seen it, I'm generalizing, but I've seen it happen with so many men, that I insist that they really give women a chance. But I get really nasty phone calls, and I take the fall for it. I said, I told him to do that. Why would you do that? I said, because this is my philosophy, and here's what I believe in. Would you rather me not give her a chance? They could have gotten married. 50-50, they were going to get married. That's why we did this. You would have rather me say no? And they're like, well, it's not right. It's not fair. You got her hopes up. I said, we got everybody's hopes up. We made her try at a shidduch. Every shidduch, we get everybody's hopes up.
Relationships take vulnerability. 50-50
and they
is a
take
good
effort, and they
good
take
chance.
work, and you really have to try. I said, I made him try. I said, if you want to be mad at somebody, be mad at me, because that was my advice. You want to know what his answer was? His answer was, I don't think I should redate her. And I told him he should, because there really was something there. There was really a potential that was there. It didn't work out in the end, not this time, but I've done this dozens of times, and it works out enough that I still give the same advice. So if you follow that system and anybody gets mad at you, you can just say, call Aleeza, she's my coach. She coached me and she told me I had to do this. I'll take the fall. You don't get to be the bad guy. I'll be the bad guy.
Ready for this one?
I don't know. Just read them.
What does it mean when they say, you deserve more than I can give? It means they're a narcissist.
No. What it means is you're going to hold me to a higher standard of being a better version of myself, and I'm not sure that I can handle it.
Or want it.
I'm not sure that I want to be as great as you need me to be. And I'm going to let you down. And I'm already letting you down, and I don't want to feel like I'm letting you down over and over again for a lifetime. So I think we shouldn't date. That's what it really means.
Do you let them go at that point?
Usually.
Yeah.
Usually, because they're not a growth-oriented person, or if they are, they're not growing fast enough, or they're not growing in a similar enough direction. So you do have to let it go.
Ready for tough stuff?
Wait, what did we do? We saved all the hard stuff for the after party?
I did.
Okay, go ahead.
Purposely. The shidduch ended 3 times right before engagement. They're the ones who walked away. Is something wrong with me?
The shidduch ended 3 times, meaning the shidduch ended 3 times right before engagement. Meaning they tried to get engaged 3 times and it ended right before engagement. No, there's nothing wrong with you, but there's something wrong with the shidduch. And we don't know if it's, again, this what we just discussed, so holding somebody to a higher standard and they decided in the last minute I can't live up to that. We don't know if it's
So am I holding my standards too high? I don't get it.
I like to quote the world-renowned Aleeza Shalom. The longest distance in the world is between the heart and the mind.
The head
Should
and
I
the
start
heart.
settling?
The head and the heart.
No, you ended it 3.
No, they ended it 3 times, 3 different times, 3 different guys.
Oh, 3 different people.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a reason, or you don't have
We
reasons?
tried to do one thing and
Most of it was, you're too good, and I just don't want to be at that level.
We gave the answer. That was the answer to the previous question. They're not willing to hold at that level.
So
It's
I
just
just lower my standards, lower my level,
No.
don't hold people to a higher standard.
find your person. He's out there.
No. Just find your person. They just couldn't handle it.
It's okay.
They didn't want to step up. It's hard. Many men, and I've heard this also across the board, here's a statement. Raise your hand if this is true for you. I'm okay with being mediocre.
No.
If this was a room of men, 85% of the room would have their hands in the air.
No way.
95%.
No way, Sam.
It's mediocre is good enough. It means I develop myself good enough. I'm just middle of the road. I'm good. I'm a good person. I develop myself to a good enough level. I'm good. I'm good enough. It's good. Okay? I'm growth oriented. Raise your hands if you agree with that. I am growth oriented. If this was a room of men, how many hands would be raised, Rabbi?
0.
Right. It's a few.
So do you scare them every time you say
15,
I'm like,
25% maybe if we're
guy.
lucky.
Yes.
They don't want to label themselves as that. If I
Yes.
label myself as growth oriented, I have to keep growing.
What if they say they are? I know a lot of guys who say that they're growth oriented.
Growth oriented, if they say they are, I want to know what they've done in the last year. Where have they grown? I took this on. I challenged myself to do this. I stepped up to the next level. I'm taking a course, I'm doing, what is the action that follows? Not, I'm growth oriented. That's in your mind and your words.
Yeah.
What physical actions
So
in
what
the
do they
world
want to
show
hear
you're
from
growth
you?
oriented?
I'm
What have
here
you
and
done?
They've probably grown their
like,
bellies.
speak their language? Like,
What's
No,
the
but
question?
really,
What's
that's a
how do you
very,
speak
like,
their language so
line
that
for,
you don't
like,
make them feel
women and men.
yeah.
This is
Pressurized.
So what's the
How
line
do you
that
say
makes
growth
sense?
oriented in a way that men will get it?
Or vice versa. How do you understand a man when you say I want someone growth oriented and then he says, oh, so
Be
X,
specific.
Y, and Z.
So
No, I
these
think,
are
I think,
messages. These are the things that I have done this year and they make me happy.
no, I think also more like looking for somebody who kind of has like a curiosity about the world and loves to explore things,
That works.
right? Like it's lighter.
That would be growth oriented
Yeah.
for a man in a man's perspective.
Yeah, so it's so much softer. Do you have a curiosity about stuff?
You have a sense of wonder.
curiosity,
What if you-
bold.
Like, what are you curious? What are you curious about? Like,
Have you ever killed a cat?
what are you curious about? What do you want to know? What do I want to know about? What do I
Curiosity
know?
killed the cat,
What are you
right?
curious
I
about?
feel like they're oriented when it comes to religion.
Just ask them, what are you curious about?
I used to take
In
ants
religion.
down.
In
With my
terms of
brother.
in terms of Judaism and Yiddishkeit, like what are you curious about? If they're like, I don't know, I've learned everything I need to know. They're not growth oriented. If they're like, I heard about and I want to learn about Rav Kook. I've been so fascinated, or I read this new thing in the Talmud and I really want to learn about it, right? You want to know if they're curious. Replace the word growth oriented with curious and I think you'll get very different results.
What if he says everything?
Yeah, what if you
Everything is not specific.
What if it matches
A
you?
first date is impression management.
Yeah, what if he's
It's always
mirroring
impression
you?
Oh, by the way, there's no way to unawkwardize a first date. They will always be awkward.
What if
There's
they're
no way to
mirroring
change
you?
that.
So if they're what?
What if they mirror you and you don't know until later on? And then you're
They
like,
need
why
to
are
ask the right questions.
meaning
Ask the questions.
which
Don't
are
assume.
Get your
Because
notebook out.
assuming makes you know what out of you.
So.
Okay.
let me get this straight.
We have 2 more here because we do have to end this at some point before next week. Okay. While I'm finding meaning and joy in being observant right now, I don't know if I can trust myself to hold on to this observance for the rest of my life. Thus, I'm not sure if I should set out to date a frum man. Thoughts on commitment of one's own life path is uncertain. Thanks. Exclamation mark.
Yeah, I think if you're going to start dating, first of all, you could just take time and not be dating and be passive dating, which is if anything amazingly interesting comes up, you can deal with it, and if not, not. If you don't want to do that and you do want to be dating, I would look for somebody with a traditional mindset, somebody who likes their Judaism and is open to living some parts of their Judaism, and it's undetermined what that will mean in the future, but look for somebody who's in a similar place, heading in a similar direction, which is, I'm going to always have a connection to Judaism. How I express it and what that looks like religiously, I'm not 100% sure. And then you figure it out together. Or just don't date until you have more clarity.
Last 2 questions. How do I overcome the irrational belief that someone won't be in the long run for me? How do I become healthy and dependent on someone and don't enjoy something, the responsibility I've never had, but I want to? How do I stay grounded?
That's
A lot of
like 6 questions.
There's like 10 questions here.
Um,
How do I... Okay, here's the question. Let's say you decide to cut someone off. Because you know that they were ready and that you were ready and they were not. For the same reason that you don't want and see. I don't believe I met him for no reason. I put that person in my life for some sort of reason. But he wasn't ready and I am. In Judaism, we believe in timing. Timing is really powerful. We believe sometimes timing is more important than the person. You can have the right person, wrong time, it won't work. You can have the wrong person, right time, it will work, even though it may not work in the long run. Timing is really, really important. Look at the timing in your life.
Can I see that? I feel like there were 6 other
Can you
questions there.
Can you break down the questions and answer a question?
Yeah.
Like, are these all,
Yeah.
Are these
So how do I overcome the irrational belief that someone won't be in the long run for you? So but it's not irrational. It's very rational, actually. In the secular world, over 50% of the people are getting divorces. In the frum world, somewhere between 15 to 25% of the people, depending on what circles you're in. So it's not irrational at all. It's very rational. I would ask the question, do you need to overcome that belief? I think a person needs to be committed to a long-term healthy relationship. If you haven't seen it elsewhere, you might not believe it because you haven't seen it. And is it when I believe it, I will see it, or when I see it, I'll believe it? When I believe it, I'll see it, or when I see it, I'll believe it. Most people say, like when I see it, I'll believe it. You show me first, okay? So part of that is, go find an example. Go find a living example of what you want to build and who is a good example of that for you. But when I believe it, I'll see it. Okay, well, it is an irrational belief, because if I start believing that it's never going to exist, I'm going to build a life where it never exists, because I have to match up my life and my reality with my belief. Because my belief is that it doesn't exist and it can't exist. And so I'm going to constantly try to prove that right, because that's my belief. So we have to be careful about our beliefs. I don't believe it's irrational, though. I think it's a very rational belief. It just doesn't serve you well if you want to live a long-term, happy, healthy relationship. So you should shift the belief, and you have to do some learning about that, because when we have learning and knowledge and information, we can shift a belief. And then when you believe something different, you'll be motivated to create a different reality. So that's one. How do I become healthy, dependent on someone? Because I don't enjoy sharing responsibility, and I've never had to do it, but I really want to. So I would call it interdependent, not codependent, but interdependent. We can trust and learn to trust each other and depend on each other.
What's the difference between interdependent and codependent?
Codependent is a handicap, and codependent kind of pulls out the responsibility of me contributing towards this relationship in a real meaningful way. Interdependent means sometimes I'm going to lean on you, and sometimes you're going to lean on me. Sometimes we lean on each other. Sometimes we lean on other people. But that we have a healthy balance of a relationship and how we interact with each other and the world. And we know that we are better together, and that we have the ability to do our own thing when we need to as well. That's not a dictionary definition. And how do I stay grounded? People around you. Make sure you are surrounded by happy, healthy, grounded humans. If you're around chaos, you will become chaos. If you're around mishugas, you will just embrace all of the crazy. Stick with happy, healthy, grounded people, and you will be grounded, and it will elevate you to the place that you really need to be.
May we all be crazy together.
Amen. Can I speak to
Ladies.
you more privately?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, if you really do want more wisdom, this is my book that I love. I have a couple books, but this is my favorite one, called Get Real, Get Married, Get Over Your Hurdles and Under the Chuppah. The chapters are like 3 pages each, because they were made for daters, which means that there are 38 different chapters, which means that we're answering 38 different topics. And then there's a little humor at the end. If you want to take a look, you're welcome to.
How much are they?
50 shekels here, $18 on Amazon. So it's much cheaper. Yes, I have Zelle because I'm American and Israeli. PayPal, Zelle. So it's about $14 US.
I'm gonna send it to you. I'm sending it in also.
So I'll give you my
And
okay.
autograph it.
Okay,
Autograph
so
it.
there's 10.
They
So
want
there's
a
10.
personalized
Okay,
autograph.
Because they're really heavy. I'm gonna give you my Zelle is my phone number, right?
Yeah, it's your phone number.
Okay.
You said $14?